Chapter 1866. Hearing Zhou Xian say that the pill formula was real, Elder Gu's expression suddenly became lively. His eyes suddenly lit up with hope. But then he seemed to think of something sad and the light in his eyes slowly faded. Sai, even if this heavenly pill is real, it's just a medicinal pill. It's just a healing medicine for Dantian injuries. Xian, it's of no help to your illness. With this, Elder Gu's interest was immediately dampened. On the other hand, Xian seemed to have already seen through life and death. She smiled slightly. Elder Gu, things in life cannot be forced. Let's leave everything to fate. Elder Gu, where did you get this pill formula? A cultivator called Xianxia wants to trade with us. She said she wants to split the profits 50-50 and wants the falling sun stone. This kid is really greedy. In fact, everything that happened in the hall could not be hidden from Elder Gu. He was a soul formation cultivator. Naturally, he could release his divine sense and casually cover a radius of dozens of miles. Everything here was as clear as a book. This person is not greedy. He knows the value of the falling sunstone in the heavenly pill formula. Zhou Xian pondered for a moment and said, although the falling sunstone is said to be worth tens of billions of high-grade crystals, it's actually priceless. It's not easy to refine and not easy to sell. Long Juxue insisted on using it to heal her injuries. In fact, she's trying to get a fish out of a tree. She might even suffer from the fire poison. When it came to medicinal pills, this woman showed her extraordinary knowledge and experience. She said, this heavenly pill is extremely powerful. Once it's put into production, all the healing pills in the entire Saint Origin world, be it the sacred grounds or the divine sects or the royal families of the mortal world, will be nothing compared to it. There will be no market for the heavenly pill and no one will care about it. If one batch of this pill is made, it's not a problem to make a net profit of hundreds of millions of high-grade crystals. You only need to sell 400 batches to cover the cost of the falling sunstone. After that, it's a net profit. There are too many golden core cultivators in the Saint Origin world. Which year doesn't thousands of golden core cultivators have their dantians destroyed? Therefore, there's no need to worry about sales. This deal is still very worthwhile. This analysis was very insightful. The higher the grade of the pill formula, the more profitable it would be. One still had to consider the market. It was just like a saint-grade pill. Of course, a single pill was priceless, but it was only used by void-returning saints for cultivation. How many saints were there in the Saint Origin world? Yes. Let the old man talk to them. Elder Gu also realized this. This was a good deal that was guaranteed to be profitable. They could even take the opportunity to expand their market beyond Saint Origin world. After bidding farewell, he turned around and left. This person was actually able to complete the pill formula of the heavenly mending pill and control the great Tao fragments within the Sunfall Stone? Zhou Xian, on the other hand, frowned as she took care of the flowers and plants. Xianxia? This name is very unfamiliar and it sounds very feminine. She quickly understood what was going on and said with a smile, yes, he must be thinking of a girl with the word Qing in her name. That's why he's pinning his yearning on her. What an affectionate and righteous man. Alas, everyone has the pain of not being able to get what they want. At the end of his speech, a hint of worry appeared on his face. On Elder Gu's side, he quickly returned to his pill tower and even called for the first hall master. When the first hall master heard Zhou Xian's assertion, he was also shocked. He hurriedly tidied his clothes and followed Elder Gu to meet Jiang Tian. He didn't dare to be negligent. It was fine if it was true, but the first miswords were frightening. Once the heavenly mending pill was released, it would cause all similar products to be removed from the market. This was too frightening. This was monopolizing the market. Monopolizing the market would bring high profits and huge returns. Just thinking about it made one tremble all over. This time, the ancient medicine hall might be able to leave Saint Origin world. Mr. Jiang, this is a serious matter. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. In this second meeting, Elder Gu was not arrogant at all. He solemnly greeted the first hall master and Jiang Tian. It's fine. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Fellow cultivator, you are quite knowledgeable in alchemy. This old man has something that I don't understand. Please enlighten me. However, Elder Gu did not immediately discuss the deal with Jiang Tian. Instead, he took the opportunity to consult Jiang Tian on a few questions about alchemy. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. He naturally understood that this old man said that he was asking for advice, but in fact he was testing him. At this time, there was no need for him to hide his abilities. Jiang Tian spoke unceasingly, giving pointers about everything, hitting the nail on the head, hitting the crux. Amazing. Amazing. There is actually such a superb alchemy technique in this world. At such a young age he actually has such precise control over the medicinal properties of those unpopular spirit medicines. He is far better than me. He is even comparable to Miss Xian. Hearing Jiang Tian's words, Elder Gu was enlightened. He sighed in amazement and was shocked to the extreme. He looked at Jiang Tian with an even more convinced gaze. Could this person be the reincarnation of the Pill Saint? The third palace master was also shocked. He sent a voice transmission to Elder Gu. That's right. It seems that his attainments in alchemy are indeed terrifying. I'm afraid that the chaotic sky-mending pill is indeed real. After a round of conversation, Elder Gu said with a face full of joy. Thank you for your advice, Mr. Jiang. We have already agreed. According to your conditions, the falling sunstone and the profits of the alchemy will be split 50-50. We will immediately make the deal and set a divine spirit contract. If we go against it, we will die. Damn, it's actually real. And it's 50-50. Deacon Xing went crazy. What kind of concept was that? It could also be said that in just a few years, Jiang Tian's wealth could be compared to a small empire, far surpassing that of a noble. What if it took hundreds or thousands of years? 50-50? That was just now. Now I want to add another 10%. 50-40. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Damn, are you crazy? How dare you raise the price? Deacon Xing was dumbfounded. He could not believe it and kept winking at Jiang Tian. It was not that he was worried that the ancient medicine hall would threaten him. In fact, the reason why the ancient medicine hall had been able to stand for 10,000 years and grow stronger and stronger was partly because of the alchemy as the core and the recruitment of talents, entering a virtuous cycle. More importantly, the ancient medicine hall was indeed a righteous sect. They valued rules and reputation and never bullied the weak. Their transactions were fair and just, so they had more and more friends. Even though Deacon Xing took bribes, he still knew how to do things. He tried to balance the interests of the sect and the merchants. He was a thief with morals. After all, black sheep like the third hallmaster were in the minority. He was worried that the other factions such as Bai Zhanyun and Long Juxua already had a grudge against Jiang Tian, and Jiang Tian's identity would be exposed. If Jiang Tian and the ancient medicine hall fell out without the protection of the ancient medicine hall, it would be like a sheep in a pack of tigers. Who knew what kind of fatal disaster it would bring? Sir, this is not how you do business. A man can't stand without integrity. The first hallmaster said with a gloomy face, a little angry. I proposed a 50-50 split with the third hallmaster. However, he thought that the alchemy recipe was fake and rejected the deal. Of course, the agreement was invalid. Jiang Tian leisurely said, that's right. Furthermore, I was the one who ordered the falling sunstone first. However, the third palace master bullied the weak and snatched it away. I'll add 10% to teach you a lesson. The first hallmaster was speechless and depressed. After a long time he said, is this true? Damn third hallmaster, you bully me every day. How can I not complain this time? Deacon Xing immediately cursed and scolded the third palace master. The third hallmaster's behavior was to oppress others with his power. He had no respect for the first hallmaster's dignity and the sect's rules. It was extremely vile. After Deacon Xing added fuel to the fire, the third hallmaster's behavior became even more evil. In order to avenge the son of the Duke of Beijiang, he used his position for personal gain and did not hesitate to destroy the ancient medicine hall's image. Deacon Xing said bitterly, no matter what, Mr. Jiang is treating Princess Dongfang's illness. If the falling sunstone is bought by Long Juxue and the others, what will the Dongfang royal family think of us? What will the cultivators of the world think of our ancient medicine hall? I'll cripple this bastard. When the first palace master heard this, he was so angry that he almost fainted. He directly spat out a fragrant breath. In order to avenge his nephew, the third hallmaster disregarded the interests of the sect and caused the sect to lose 10% of its profits. At this moment he really wanted to kill someone. However, the first hallmaster had nothing to say about Jiang Tian raising the price on the spot. After all, he had his reasons. Soon, the first hallmaster took the falling sunstone and handed it to Jiang Tian. Zhang Tian also handed over the complete alchemy recipe. Both parties signed a divine soul contract. Zhang Tian would get 50% of Lin Run's share of the skymending pill. Let's go. Fellow cultivator, watch how I deal with the third hallmaster. The first hallmaster had a fiery temper. He clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles cracked. I'll be glad to see that happen. Zhang Tian looked like he was watching a show. Suddenly he had an idea. He smiled coldly and said, however, I have another request. You are not allowed to sell any alchemy pills to Bai Zhanyun. This brat is blind. He has offended Mr. Jiang, so he deserves this. This is simple. From now on, the ancient medicine hall will not sell any alchemy pills to the Bai family. As long as we find out about the monopolists, we will also ban them. The first hallmaster agreed without hesitation. The Duke of Beijiang's Bai family was influential in the Eastern Empire, but in the eyes of the number one sacred ground, the ancient medicine hall, they were just a mob. Not to mention that Zhang Tian only wanted to ban the sale of alchemy pills. The ancient medicine hall would cooperate even if he wanted to flatten the Duke of Beijiang. Chapter 1867. While Zhang Tian was happily chatting with the first hallmaster and elder Gu, the third hallmaster Bai Zhanyun, Zhou Xian, and the others were still waiting in the trading hall, discussing and gloating. This arrogant person casually made up a pill recipe and said it came from the ancient times. What a joke. Xianxia mocked. That's right. Idiot. Some of the nobles and marquises agreed. Lin Yang, you actually found an idiot from a remote village outside the river to be your guest. Is your family poor? If you don't have money, just say it. I don't mind lending you some. Xianxia pointed his gun at Lin Yang. Don't be so unforgiving. I'll definitely get back at you for what you did today. Lin Yang's expression was extremely ugly at this moment. He was anxious and had no mood to pay attention to Xianxia. Get back. What right do you have to get back? The hidden dragon trials? Fine. When the time comes, I'll be the first to challenge you and fulfill your wish. I'll turn you into a real piece of trash just like Bai Zhanyun. Xianxia said again. These nobles all admired Zhou Xian and were driven by her. They ran around for her and tried their best to please her. However, they would also step on each other and mock each other. You can bully him, but don't drag me into it. Bai Zhanyun had been watching a good show and watching Lin Yang make a fool of himself. Hearing these words, he was immediately displeased. His face darkened as he snorted, I'll be able to get a pill to repair my dantian from the Hall of Ancient Medicine soon. I'll be able to return to my peak within a year before the hidden dragon trials. So what if you return to your peak? You're still trash. Xianxia grinned. You were actually injured by a wandering cultivator from outside the river. Aren't you embarrassed? Thinking about how he was sent flying by Zhang Tian's sleeves and how his dantian was severely damaged, Bai Zhanyun's hatred overflowed. He snorted coldly without concealing it. I'll definitely take revenge. Once Jiang Xiqing leaves Icebound City today, I'll have someone kill him. If he has the guts, he'll stay in this city forever. Lin Yang, do you want to stop him? It's impossible to stay here forever. There's too much traffic here. The inns usually only give you 5 days to stay here. After this period, you'll have to apply for a temporary residence certificate. Hearing this, Lin Yang suddenly wanted to cry but had no tears. He was extremely disappointed in Zhang Tian and felt very depressed. I told you to keep a low profile, but you insisted on showing your true face. Now you're caught unprepared, aren't you? A group of people were talking at the same time. Suddenly, an announcement came from the door. The first palace master and elder Gu have arrived. Trading was temporarily suspended and unrelated people should leave first. The first palace master has important matters to attend to. Even the first palace lord has been alerted. Is he going to punish Jiang Xiqing ruthlessly? Even elder Gu is here. This is definitely going to pierce through the sky. Wonderful. The first palace master walked in with an ashen face. Bai Zhanyun, Xianxia and the others were all gloating. Zhou Xian also revealed a mocking expression. She shook her head and sighed softly. You just had to fight with me for the Sunfall Stone and didn't hesitate to forge an ancient pill maple. Who can you blame for ending up like this? Greetings, First Hall Master and Elder Gu. The third palace master had already walked up quickly to greet them. He was full of joy and bowed respectfully. Third Palace Master, you don't have to be so formal. Your eyes are very crafty and unique. Your grasp of this ancient pill formula is very accurate. The first Palace Master suppressed his anger and said sarcastically. This is all thanks to the first Palace Master and Elder Gu's good teachings. The third Palace Master straightened up. He did not hear the sarcasm in the first Palace Master's tone and believed it. Therefore he immediately drew a clear line between them and said, Indeed, I already saw that Zhou Xian's ancient pill formula was a clumsy forgery. I wanted to persuade her to withdraw voluntarily. However, Deacon Xing was blind and insisted that this pill formula was authentic. He insisted on giving it to the higher-ups. Damn, the third Palace Master can distort the truth like this? When did I insist that the pill formula was authentic? When did I insist on giving it to the first Palace Master? Weren't you the one who forced me to give it to him? Indeed, the one who strikes first gains the advantage and the one who strikes later suffers. At first, Deacon He felt a little guilty for snitching on the third Palace Master. However, when he heard the third Palace Master's words, he was immediately filled with hatred and regret. His little snitch just now was really too lenient and soft-hearted. He should have also reported the third Palace Master's embezzlement of public funds. The third Palace Master roared loudly like a clap of thunder. His spittle was all over Deacon He's face. He said, The first Palace Master is so busy with official business. He has to deal with thousands of affairs every day. In the blink of an eye, he has hundreds of millions of top-grade crystals. How can he have time to look at such a clumsy pill formula? You wasted the first Palace Master's precious time. Deacon He, how should you be punished? Deacon He, you are also blind. You actually stood on the side of a rogue cultivator from outside the river and fought with us for the falling sunstone. You deserve such a punishment. By Zhanyun, Yang Xian, Long Jushua and the others were all gloating. The third Palace Master had not finished his performance. Today he was going to ruthlessly trample on Deacon He and Jiang Tian. He was going to establish his authority in the sect and avenge his nephew. He said righteously and passionately, Deacon He is an elixir lord after all. Is his judgment really that bad? Can't he tell that this pill formula is fake? Does he really believe a useless rogue cultivator from outside the river? No. He must have taken bribes to fill his own pockets. That's why he and Jiang Xiqing put on a show to deceive and fool the first Palace Master. His intentions are unforgivable. He turned around and bowed deeply to the first Palace Master and Elder Gu. He said angrily, First Palace Master, I don't think we should keep this person alive. We should destroy his cultivation and expel him from the sect. Also, we can't let Jiang Xiqing off easily. We should destroy her cultivation as a warning to others. I think you should be the one to destroy your cultivation. The first Palace Master finally couldn't take it anymore and completely exploded. Bang! He struck out a palm and pressed heavily on the third Palace Master's chest. The Dharma laws and Tao suppressed him. Whoosh! The third Palace Master was only at the first level of the soul formation realm, and the first Palace Master was already at the middle stage of the soul formation realm. How could the third Palace Master resist when he was caught off guard? A stream of blood spurted out from his mouth, and the third Palace Master flew out like a kite with a broken string. He landed heavily on the ground and a deep palm print appeared on his chest. His Taoist robe was also torn into pieces and pieces of cloth fluttered in the air. This scene stunned everyone. They couldn't believe it. Everyone felt like they were in a dream. Bai Zhanyun was completely dumbfounded. He murmured, Why? Why did the first Palace Master suddenly attack my uncle? The third Palace Master's divine treasure was only shattered. After all, he had been a soul formation realm cultivator for many years. His body was so strong that he naturally wouldn't die on the spot. Kneeling on the ground, he tried his best to raise his head. With a face full of confusion, fear and indignation, he shouted, First Hall Master, this subordinate has been loyal and devoted to the sect for hundreds of years. Even if I didn't make any contributions, I still worked hard. What crime have I committed? Why did you suddenly attack me? I can't accept it. You can't accept it? The first Palace Master shouted angrily. Was it Mr. Jiang who ordered the falling sunstone first? But you used your power to avenge a private grudge. In order to avenge your nephew, you bullied the weak and tried to take it by force. You stopped them and wanted to sell it to these little bastards. As he spoke, he glanced at Bai Zhanyun and the others. These people immediately shrank back like quails. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Strictly speaking, by threatening Zhang Tian, they had disrupted the order of the ancient medicine hall. If the first palace master was angry and punished them, even the families behind them wouldn't be able to withstand it, let alone them. I did break the rules of the sect, but it was just a moment of confusion. But you didn't have to kill me. My cultivation, the cultivation that I have cultivated for 2,000 years, has been destroyed. The third palace master felt extremely wronged. His face was twisted and his triangular eyes were filled with tears. He was about to cry out loud. There was resentment, sadness, and even more despair. Chapter 1868. I did break the sect's rules, but it was just a moment of confusion. But you didn't have to kill me. My cultivation, the cultivation that I cultivated for 2,000 years, was destroyed. I can't accept this. The third palace master felt extremely wronged. His face was distorted and his body was twitching. His triangular eyes were filled with tears and he was about to cry. There was resentment, sadness, and even more despair. The difficulty of reaching the divine transformation stage was as difficult as reaching the heavens. Even in the Saint Origin world, where the spiritual energy was rich and the laws were perfect, a divine transformation realm cultivator was 1 in a billion. They could be said to be at the peak in a giant. It usually took 1,000 years for a cultivator to reach the divine transformation realm from physique refinement and chi refinement. In the past 1,000 years, there had been jealousy and treachery between fellow disciples, the invasion of demonic beasts and devils, the near-death missions of the sect, the coveted and hunted cultivation resources by high-level cultivators, the vendettas of Jianghu, the emergence of his own inner demons. Who knew how many difficulties and obstacles he had to go through, and who knew how many shackles he had to break. It could be said that every step a cultivator took was like crossing a natural chasm. It could also be said that every divine transformation realm cultivator stepped on the bones of others to reach a high position. The third palace master had gone through so many hardships and finally reached the divine transformation realm. He had finally become a giant and had his own world. However, because he bullied a rogue cultivator from outside the river, his cultivation was destroyed in one day. How sad was this? Although the third palace master knew that he had indeed abused his position for personal gain and broke the sect's rules, he did not deserve to be punished so severely. The first palace master should not be so incorruptible and kill him. How could he not be angry? The third palace master knew that his cultivation was destroyed by a single palm strike. This would become a shadow in his heart for the rest of his life. Coupled with the damage to his physical body, even if he started from scratch, it would be difficult for him to reach his current level. It was very likely that he would stop at chi refinement and foundation establishment or even become immortal. How could he not feel despair? It was even worse than killing him with a single strike. If you still don't accept this, I'll let you die knowing. The first palace master swung his sleeves and shouted angrily. Mr. Zhang's pill formula has been confirmed by Miss Xian. It is indeed the ancient pill formula, the heaven-mending pill. The product produced from this formula is enough to sweep the entire Saint Origin world and make the same kind of pills completely lose their competitiveness. It will bring immeasurable benefits to the sect. But you said that the pill formula was fake. You threatened, intimidated, and expelled me. If we miss out on this business, then our Hall of Ancient Herbs might be completely suppressed by other alchemy companies. The Falling Sunstone was originally reserved by Mr. Jiang, and I personally agreed to it. But you, in order to avenge your nephew, went back on your word and robbed us. You made Mr. Jiang furious and reduced our share of the profits by 10%. Don't tell me that I shouldn't punish you severely? As soon as these words were spoken, the whole place was dead silent. Even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Everyone was shocked. No one dared to believe their eyes as they looked at Zhang Tian as if they were looking at a demonic god. What? Not only was this pill formula real, but it also sounded extremely high-end. A pill formula can actually determine the fate of the ancient medicine hall? Long Jushua's beautiful eyes widened in disbelief. Everyone was shocked. That's right. Mr. Zhang's attainments in alchemy and medicine are probably not inferior to that old man. Elder Gu, who had been watching coldly from the sidelines, looked at Zhang Tian with a face full of respect at this moment. He said solemnly, "From today onwards, Mr. Jiang will be the most important partner of our ancient medicine hall. Thus the Skyfall Stone is naturally his." Let me remind everyone, offending Mr. Jiang is the same as offending us. Even Elder Gu is impressed. Isn't that the level of a pill god? His skills in alchemy and medicine are actually so amazing. He might even be able to cure my Skyfiend frost poison. But I actually... Hearing this, Long Juxue only felt that this was the biggest joke in her life. How is this possible? He's clearly just an itinerant cultivator from outside the river. Bai Zhanyun was so frightened that he almost fell to the ground. Boundless fear filled him. He actually... How is this possible? Zhou Xian stood there stiffly. His heart was in a state of turmoil as if a river was overturned. He did not even realize that his fingernails had dug deep into his palms. One was the half-dead guest of the Lin family of the Jinyun Marquis residence, and the other was the pill god who was respected by Elder Gu and could look down on the world. One looked ordinary and came from a poor background. At most he was a golden core cultivator with actual combat ability. The other was an important partner of the Hall of Ancient Herbs. He was an unparalleled giant who was on equal footing with Elder Gu and the first Hall Master. These two identities miraculously overlapped. It was shocking and made people tremble from the bottom of their hearts. Many of the aristocratic young masters who had mocked Jiang Tian previously were so frightened that their faces turned pale. Their legs trembled and they were terrified. If Jiang Tian used the power of the Hall of Ancient Herbs to take revenge, who could stop him? So, he has such a terrifying trump card. This time I was blind. One misstep and I will regret it forever. Brother-in-law, the Bai family of the northern frontier has ruined my life. As for the third hall master, he was in complete despair as if his parents had died. It could be said that Jiang Tian was so powerful that he could bring so many benefits to the Hall of Ancient Herbs. After today, the third hall master would not be able to establish himself in the Saint Origin world. He did not have the qualifications to fight against Jiang Tian. He would have to avoid Jiang Tian whenever he saw him. When the enemy was so strong that you could not catch up with them, you would not even have the courage to take revenge. There would only be endless fear and despair. This brother Jiang is too heaven-defying. He is going to be rich. He is going to ascend to the heavens. Lin Yang and He Chuang looked at each other and then looked at Jiang Tian in shock. Their hearts were filled with excitement and ecstasy. Lin Yang was too happy and too excited. They were all wondering if they were dreaming. With just a pill formula, Elder Gu and the first hall master praised him and got a 60-40 share. He counted with his fingers. The benefits here were simply too terrifying. In just a few years, the accumulation could surpass the hundreds and thousands of years of Zhen Yuanho's wealth. It could be said that with this cooperation, Jiang Tian could become one of the top families in the empire in the future. His wealth could rival that of a country. And as Jiang Tian's friend, the Lin family and even the second prince, Dongfeng Li, would gain a powerful helper. And this was just in terms of wealth. Let's talk about connections. Jiang Tian was now on the same level as the first hall master and Elder Gu. He was admired by the pill god and became the most important partner of the Hall of Ancient Herbs. What did this mean? It meant that Jiang Tian could do whatever he wanted in the Eastern Empire in the future. A pill god was much more honorable than a soul formation expert. Not to mention the pill god that the Hall of Ancient Herbs respected. With this, the relationship between Jiang Tian, the Lin family, and the second prince had undergone subtle changes. It turned out that Jiang Tian was only valued by the Zhen Yuanho residents and the second prince because he could cure Dongfeng Ying. But Jiang Tian still needed their protection. But now Jiang Tian could stand shoulder to shoulder with them and even surpass their influence. Fellow cultivator, are you satisfied? The first palace master smiled as he looked at Jiang Tian. His attitude was very humble. It's all right, but you seem to have forgotten something. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Suddenly the first hall master understood. He raised his hand and pointed at Bai Zhanyun. Men, throw this kid out of the city. From now on, the pills of the Hall of Ancient Herbs are prohibited from being sold to the Bai family of the Duke of Beijiang. First hall master. The Duke of Beijiang has always supported Icebound City and the Hall of Ancient Herbs. Please, for my father's sake. Bai Zhanyun's expression changed drastically. As if he had been struck by lightning, he bowed and begged pitifully. Without the pills of the Hall of Ancient Herbs, it would be extremely difficult for him to recover his energy center and return to his peak in a short time. It was almost impossible. How much is your father's face worth? The first hallmaster did not mince his words. Don't blame me for being ruthless. If you want to blame someone, blame all of you for being blind and ignorant. You did not follow the rules and forced a sail in the territory of the Hall of Ancient Herbs. You have offended our esteemed guest. Bai Zhanyun could not take it anymore. He looked desperate and was about to cry. In the next moment he knelt before Jiang Tian with a thump, lowered his arrogant head, and prostrated himself on the ground as he begged pitifully. Senior, please don't hold a grudge against a lowly person. Give me a chance. I can't go without pills to treat my injuries. As long as you speak just one word from you, and the first hallmaster will retract his order. Chapter 1869. Under the Lord Hallmaster's threat, Bai Zhanyun could no longer hold on. His face was full of despair and he was about to cry. In the next moment he knelt before Jiang Tian with a thump, lowered his arrogant head, and prostrated himself on the ground as he begged pitifully. Senior, please don't hold a grudge against a lowly person like me. Give me another chance. I can't live without healing pills. As long as you say it, the Lord Hallmaster will take back his order. He was indeed an arrogant and domineering person, but it also depended on the occasion and who he was dealing with. Without the pills from the Hall of Ancient Medicine, it would be difficult for him to return to his peak. In his father's eyes he was just a piece of trash who could no longer cultivate and would be cruelly abandoned. Only by obtaining Jiang Tian's forgiveness would he have a chance to live. Young Marquis, you must be mistaken. Jiang Tian smiled lightly and leisurely said, That's right. I'm just a wandering cultivator from outside the river, a vagrant from the remote countryside, an insignificant country bumpkin. How am I a big shot? My words are of no use. Big shots can overlook the mistakes of small people, but small people are also petty and seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Before this, Bai Zhanyun was arrogant and condescending, calling him a vagrant and a country bumpkin. At this moment he was kneeling in front of Jiang Tian, but Jiang Tian brought up the old matter again, slapping him in the face with his original words. If Jiang Tian was a country bumpkin at this moment he would be kneeling in front of Jiang Tian with tears and snot flowing out of his nose. Then what was he? A maggot? An ant? Seeing that Jiang Tian didn't say anything, Bai Zhanyun knelt in front of Lin Yang again, wailing and begging. Young Marquis, big brother Lin Yang, please help me say something. I can't live without healing pills. I know I was wrong for offending you before. I apologize. I'll prepare a banquet to apologize. Have you forgotten? 3 years ago we even hunted and drank together in Xianxia forest. Haha, there's a time when you kneel in front of me and claim friendship with me. Lin Yang felt incomparably carefree and comfortable. He couldn't help but laugh. In the past, Bai Zhanyun, who was known as one of the top geniuses of the new generation of the empire, didn't put a small character like Lin Yang in his eyes. Bai Zhanyun thought highly of himself. As soon as he saw Lin Yang, a waste, he would humiliate and scold him. But now he was calling himself his little brother, kneeling in front of him and begging pitifully and humbly. Listen, felt so good. However, Lin Yang was not a saint. Be lenient whenever possible. That was just bullshit. Because the root cause of the debauch's internal strife was the struggle for hegemony, the struggle for imperial power. It was a fight to the death. Both sides were in different camps. At this time, forgiving Bai Zhanyun was akin to nurturing a tiger and inviting calamity. That was akin to handing a knife to the other party. Bai Zhanyun was not someone who knew how to repay kindness. Once he returned to his peak, would he show any mercy during the hidden dragon trials? No, he would never. Therefore Lin Yang would definitely not forgive him. He waved his hand and said coldly, But I won't help you. I'm not familiar with you and I'm not your big brother. I'll wait for you during the hidden dragon trials. Bai Zhanyun knew that if he continued to beg he would only be asking for humiliation. He stood up and wiped his tears. Suddenly his gaze became cold and bitter. He gritted his teeth and laughed viciously. Lin Yang, remember what you said today. You'd better not give me a chance to turn things around. Otherwise I'll flatten your Zhenyun Marquis Estate's Lin clan to avenge today's grudge. Your cultivation has been crippled, and you still want to flatten my Zhenyun Marquis Estate. Ah, dream on. Lin Yang was disdainful as he sneered and mocked. Jiang Tian was dispirited. He couldn't be bothered to watch the argument between Bai Zhanyun and Lin Yang. He cupped his hands and said, Head Hallmaster Elder Gu, I still have important matters to attend to. I can't stay here any longer and must return immediately. Let's part ways here. Fellow Daoist Zhang, why are you in such a hurry? This old man and you hit it off at first sight. Let's drink and chat merrily, talk through the night around the stove and compare notes on the Tao of Alchemy. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Elder Gu bowed deeply, his expression anxious and sincere. He wanted Zhang Tian to stay for a few more days so that he could ask Zhang Tian for advice on alchemy and medicine. In his opinion, Zhang Tian was a big gold mine. Every word of his was a gem, and a word of advice could be worth thousands of gold. The improvement and repair of Dan recipes could all be converted into endless wealth and cultivation resources. Then he would have to dig up more. Now that Zhang Tian had left, it would be a great loss. When Zhou Xian, Zhou Xian and the others saw this, their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. Even He Chuang was speechless. Elder Gu was a dignified pill god. What kind of honorable status was that? Even the emperor of a country or the leader of a large sect would find it extremely difficult to meet him, let alone these young nobles who had not even fully grown their hair. But at this moment, Elder Gu was sincerely asking Zhang Tian to stay. He wanted nothing more than to hug Zhang Tian's thigh. This was too shocking and inconceivable. Elder Gu, I appreciate your kind intentions. But the princess's illness is indeed very serious. Zhang Tian smiled leisurely. The green mountains and the clear water will always flow. We will meet again someday. All right. That old man will wait for fellow Daoist Zhang's arrival at any time. Elder Gu knew that true alchemists valued their patience very much, so he did not insist on asking him to stay. Instead, he said with a face full of joy. He was the first elder of the branch of the ancient medicine hall in Icebound City. He was usually very busy and had to protect Zhou Xian. Otherwise, he would have personally sent Zhang Tian to Maple City. It would also be convenient for him to ask Zhang Tian for advice on the way. The Grand Hall Master immediately knew what he was thinking. He immediately said, Fellow Daoist Zhang, you're carrying a precious falling sun stone. I'm afraid you'll be coveted by others. How about this? I'll send 9 soul formation grand cultivators to escort you along the way. I guarantee that you'll arrive at Maple City safe and sound. We'll leave immediately after lunch. Zhang Tian naturally had no objections and spoke concisely. From the beginning to the end, Long Jushua's eyes were flickering as she looked at Zhang Tian with a complicated expression. Her eyes were full of respect, shock, admiration, regret and even a hint of desire. At this moment, seeing that Zhang Tian was about to turn around and leave, she hurriedly stepped forward and curtsied. She curtsied and said softly, I have eyes but failed to recognize a true dragon. I have offended you just now, please forgive me. She was originally a stunning beauty and came from a noble family. She had been raised by nobles since she was young, so her every move was elegant and graceful. She was just like a rare treasure. It's okay. Zhang Tian nodded his head slightly and continued forward without any pretense. The Duke of the Eastern Gorge was a neutral party. He did not have many grudges with the Jinyuan Marquis Lin family and even less with Zhang Tian. However, Zhang Tian did not like this woman's character. She was too arrogant. Senior. At this moment, Long Jushua once again called out timidly. There was no trace of her previous haughtiness and arrogance. Instead, she was like a little maid who just entered the palace, trembling with fear and as docile as water. She looked delicate and soft, as if she could be taken advantage of by anyone. Is there anything else? Zhang Tian furrowed his brows and glanced at her indifferently. Long Jushua felt her hair stand on end. This man was really extraordinary. Thinking of this, Long Jushua mustered up her courage and stood up. Step by step, she walked towards Zhang Tian. When she reached Zhang Tian's side, she knelt down softly. She put on a tearful face and said, Senior, can you come to the Eastern Gorge Duke's mansion for a few days after curing the princess's illness so that I can repay my filial piety? If my father knew that I offended you today, he would kill me. Chapter 1870. The goddess of the empire Long Jushua actually knelt before Zhang Tian. This shocked all the nobles and aristocrats. Brother Zhang's charm is terrifying. Lin Yang was dumbfounded. What the fuck? The goddess of the empire Long Jushua actually took the initiative to invite him to her residence. Is she going to meet his parents? I didn't expect that Long Jushua, who has always been arrogant, would actually be a bootlicker. Goddess, promise me don't be a bootlicker. At this moment, Bai Zhanyun, Zhou Xian, and the other aristocrats were all looking at Jiang Tian with envy and jealousy, wailing in their hearts. They also felt as if their hearts had been ruthlessly stabbed a few times, and the pain was excruciating. They also felt that the top of their head was green. But usually, not to mention going to her house, it was extremely difficult for him to travel the world with her or even talk to her for a while. But at this moment, the high and mighty goddess was actually kneeling and begging Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian glanced at her from the corner of his eyes. At this moment she was like a pear blossom in the rain, charming and moving. She was more attractive than any of the beauties Jiang Tian had seen on Earth or even in the little Tianan galaxy. Zhao Xueqing, Huang Linger, Bai Muxia, Long Xingnan, and the others were not bad-looking, but they were not as beautiful as Long Juxue, who had lived in the Saint Origin continent for decades and had been nourished by the spirit qi of the empire. She had already reached the most attractive stage of a woman. In terms of female charm, even Fang Goyu was not as good as her. Fang Goyu belonged to the type of beauty that was heroic and refreshing, simple and natural. Lin Dyer was slightly immature, like a flower bud that had not yet bloomed. Moreover, the two of them were extremely close to each other. The faint fragrance of her body was suddenly very strong, and any man would probably be ignited by it. However, Jiang Tian was an old monster, and his temperament was different from that of an ordinary person. Moreover, he had been through the sea and his heart was all for Zhao Xueqing. How could he have any thoughts about her? Thank you for your love, I am flattered. But the threshold of the Eastern Gorge Duke Mansion is too high. I am afraid I can't cross it. Jiang Tian smiled faintly as he lifted his leg and left. Long Jushue's body stiffly stood up. Looking at Jiang Tian's back, her heart was filled with complicated feelings. A wave of bitter regret gradually emerged. If her attitude had not been so bad when she first met Jiang Tian, she was afraid that Jiang Tian would not have spoken so harshly. Suddenly she swept a cold glance over the crowd and said in a chilly voice, "Whoever dares to say a single word about what happened today will be making an enemy out of the Eastern Gorge Duke family, and will be making things difficult for me, Long Jushue." In order to please Jiang Tian, she even knelt down in front of Jiang Tian. But Jiang Tian ignored him. If this were to spread out, she would lose all face as a peerless beauty of the empire. It would be a great humiliation. Don't worry, I won't say a single word. Everyone hurriedly agreed and patted their chests in assurance. In fact, Long Jushue was worrying too much. She had made a fool of herself, but wouldn't it be even more humiliating for the noble's descendants to be suppressed by a rogue cultivator from outside the river? Especially by Zhanyun, who had also knelt down in front of Jiang Tian and even the trash Lin Yang. He simply regarded it as a great humiliation. Therefore, the news that Jiang Tian had taken out the ancient pill recipe and caught the eye of the ancient medicine hall's big shot, becoming an important partner, would only spread within a small circle. The lunch banquet was held in the first hallmaster's pill pagoda. The dishes were exquisite and divine wine was on display. Jiang Tian was arranged to sit at the head of the table. Elder Gu and the first hallmaster accompanied him on his left and right, exchanging toasts and toasting with each other. Their attitudes were respectful and humble. Kibbe said that they were praising Jiang Tian to the heavens. Lin Yang and He Chuang were treated as distinguished guests and were also toasted by the two big shots. They were so excited that their hands holding the wine cups were trembling slightly. To be able to drink with the famous Elder Gu and the first hallmaster was something worth bragging about for the rest of their lives. Lin Yang was very happy, but he did not feel complacent. He tried hard to tell himself to stay calm and not show his fear. He knew that these people were not giving him face but Jiang Tian. However, Jiang Tian was so heaven-defying and he was his good brother. There was no need for him to be afraid. Deacon Xing was also present as an assistant. He had also gained a lot this time. Because of his contribution in recommending Jiang Tian, he was directly promoted to the third hallmaster. He was in charge of the Skymending Pill project and liaised with Jiang Tian. After all, he had contributed to protecting Jiang Tian and was familiar with Jiang Tian, so it was very convenient for him to handle things. It did not matter if his alchemy skills were not good enough. Elder Gu had promised that he would personally teach Deacon He his alchemy skills. He expected Deacon He to become a pill deity within 10 years. From a deacon to a hallmaster, he had directly skipped the elder level and reached the heavens in a single step. From a pill monarch to a pill deity, it was like a chicken turning into a phoenix. The salary he received in a year was more than 10 times his original salary. Delicacies, fine clothes, fine horses, an independent manor and a house full of gold and jade. At this moment, Deacon Xing and Third Hall Master Xing felt that such a beautiful life was already in front of them. They chatted and laughed with the nobles. Their wives and concubines lived in harmony, and their children and grandchildren lived a happy life. Such a life was already waving at him from afar. He was a frequent customer of the Pine Crane Tavern, a financier of the Garden of Returning Spring, a prostitute with the king and a table drinking with the emperor. Naturally, such a scene wouldn't be unattainable. All of this was brought to me by Mr. Jiang. Is this the legendary, when a man achieves the Tao even his chickens and dogs ascend to heaven? Third Hall Master Xing was very grateful when he toasted Jiang Tian. His eyes were filled with tears and he was choking with sobs. Actually, I didn't do much and I got so much. When I brought you to see Elder Gu, I actually wanted you to help me share some of the firepower. If Third Hall Master didn't force me, I wouldn't have gone. Thank you, Third Hall Master. After the lunch, Jiang Tian and Lin Yang didn't waste any time. They took the Falling Sunstone and left Icebound City under the protection of the 9 elders of the ancient Medicine Hall. They went all the way south and headed towards Maple City. When they came, Jiang Tian took a light carriage and hid his face. When they left, he didn't hide it at all. The flag with the symbol of the ancient Medicine Hall danced in the air. Dozens of flying boats and cloud towers were lined up in a long line across the sky. They were filled with gifts from the ancient Medicine Hall. A few soul formation and divine lords escorted them. Their dharma power surged for 100 miles like waves, scaring the monsters and making the cultivators and mortals in the city. In the fief of Beijiang, a few spies sent by the Duke of Beijiang hid after peeking a few times. They didn't dare to come any closer. Ha, you're faster than a rabbit. Duke of Beijiang, you deserve this. Lin Yang had never felt so good before. It could be said that they left the northern border's fiefdom unimpeded without stopping. At this time, He Chuang also heaved a long sigh of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. The ancient Medicine Hall was indeed the top sacred ground. There were branches in every city. Those hall masters and managers of the branches all came to greet Jiang Tian and gave him gifts when they heard what he had done. If Jiang Tian happened to be willing to stay, then that would make them beam with joy, immediately setting up a banquet to welcome him, as if they had received a great favor. Mr. Jiang, I can't thank you enough. This time it's all thanks to you. When he arrived at the imperial city, the second prince personally came out of the city to welcome him. He stood shoulder to shoulder with Jiang Tian, calling him senior and Mr. He held him in high esteem and welcomed him into the Western Palace to drink imperial wine. He no longer dared to put on airs as a prince. Firstly, without Jiang Tian he wouldn't have been able to get the Falling Sun Stone. Not to mention curing his sister. Secondly, now that Jiang Tian was valued by the ancient Medicine Hall, his status had risen. His terrifying influence was comparable to that of a noble, close to that of the royal family. He even had a thought in his mind. Originally, I was at a disadvantage when fighting with the crown prince of the East Palace, Dongfang Ding, for the throne. Even if I don't fight, I might be killed by Dongfang Ding. But with Mr. Zhang's help, I might be able to turn the tables. At least I can protect myself. After passing the royal city, they were getting closer to Maple City. Jiang Tian and the others were getting safer. When they reached the edge of the Red Rock Basin, Jiang Tian smiled at the leaders of the ancient Medicine Hall and said, "Everyone, we're very close to Maple City. I don't think anything will go wrong. Everyone, it's been a long journey. Please go back." "All right. Even if you can see your friend off for 1,000 miles, you still have to part in the end. Take care of yourself, Mr. Jiang. If you need the help of the ancient Medicine Hall, just send a message. The ancient Demon Hall will definitely do anything for you without any hesitation." The Soul Formation Realm cultivators were humble and respectful. Jiang Tian took out an ancient elixir recipe casually. Who knew how many he had? Anyway, they had to do something for him. The airship of the ancient Medicine Hall stopped. Jiang Tian got off the airship and got on the carriage. Suddenly, his expression changed and he said in a low voice, "Oh no. Someone has invaded Maple City." Chapter 1871. Jiang Tian got off the flying boat and got on his carriage. He was bidding farewell to the powerful cultivators of the Hall of Ancient Medicine. Suddenly, his expression changed and he said in a low voice, "Oh no. Someone is invading Maple City." "What?" Hearing this, the 9 soul formation cultivators immediately sent out their divine senses. Only then did they realize that there were a few violent auras shooting up into the sky from Maple City tens of thousands of miles away. Those were soul formation cultivators' Dharma power fluctuations, full of murderous intent. Cultivator Zhang's divine senses are so sharp. It's as vast as the sea and as fine as hair. The cultivators exclaimed in amazement. They couldn't believe it. His speed is so fast too. Since he's so fast, why would he need to take a flying boat or a cloud building? He could have just flown over with us. It seems that Cultivator Zhang is not only good at alchemy, but also not at the golden core or nascent soul level. He's not any weaker than us. They hadn't recovered from their shock when they saw Jiang Tian had already taken a step into the sky and pushed out a distance of 500 kilometers, and he flashed towards Maple City like a shooting star. They couldn't help but be extremely shocked once more. What should we do? Someone asked. Do you still need to ask? A soul formation grand cultivator burst into laughter. His will to fight rose and he said in high spirits, Cultivator Zhang, you're an expert and a benefactor. It's not easy to curry favor with him. But isn't this a God-given opportunity? Killing enemies for the House of Zhenyun means killing enemies for Cultivator Zhang. Let's fight. Maple City. House of Zhenyuan. Fang Goyu was teaching Lin Dyer cultivation. The East Rising Purple Qi is the basic cultivation method of the Eastern royal family. It's also a compulsory cultivation method for the Hidden Dragon Trials. Dyer, although you've been selected as a disciple of the 9 Mysteries sect, you can't ignore the test. The East Rising Purple Qi was a cultivation method for absorbing and refining spirit qi. It was a compulsory cultivation method for the Eastern royal family and the nobles. The highest level of cultivation could reach was the soul formation level. It was also equipped with 2 killing techniques, the Purple Cloud Palm and the Eastern Emperor Finger. The Purple Cloud Palm was elegant and unrestrained. When it was used, it was sometimes like falling petals fluttering in the wind, and sometimes like rosy clouds chasing after the moon. It was both real and fake, and it emphasized elegance. The Dong Huang Finger, on the other hand, focused on its strangeness. It was like a sudden clap of thunder, like a shooting star, like the sudden appearance of a divine dragon, catching people off guard. I wonder if Mr. Jiang can bring back the falling sunstone and help me repair my damaged body so that I can also embark on the path of cultivation. Beside her, Princess Dongfang Ying watched with rapt attention as Lin Dai leaped up and down. She was as graceful as a startled swan and as agile as a swimming dragon. She was filled with envy and anticipation. She didn't know why, but she actually missed Jiang Tian very much. Not seeing him for a day felt like 3 years. Not bad. However, the execution of this thunderclap finger was still too slow, and his battle intent was insufficient. There should be a thunderous explosion, a thunderous momentum. Fang Goyu also nodded slightly, correcting him from time to time. Lin Dyer's practice was indeed good. Her cultivation in the middle Aurus core stage was becoming more and more consolidated, and there were already signs of her entering the late Aurus core stage. He was also becoming more and more proficient in using the 2 immortal martial techniques. Boom. At this moment, a muffled thunder-like sound suddenly rang out, causing the earth to shake and the mountains to shake. Everyone turned their heads in shock and saw that the protective array of the Marquis Manor had already risen to the sky at some point. It was tens of thousands of feet tall and covered a radius of 10 miles. It was like a large golden bowl that covered the entire Marquis Manor. A black-clothed cultivator was blocked by the protective array. His face was covered by a bronze mask, revealing only a pair of cold and sinister eyes. He should be the one who triggered the defensive array. Dark thorns are attacking. Those who block them will die. However, he didn't panic at all in the face of the array. Suddenly, his divine treasures rumbled, and a god with a snake head and a human body in his body roared to the sky, affecting the great Tao of heaven and earth. It transformed into a strange snake that was hundreds of feet long. It opened its bloody mouth and rushed toward the protective array. Enemy array formation. Send the message. For a moment, cries of alarm rang out one after another, and the sound of an ancient horn sounded. Lin Hanqing flew out of the main hall. He was already dressed in armor and was ready for battle. He stared at Fang Goyu and said in a low voice, "Bring the guards of the palace and protect the princess. And Sir Zhang's family." Yes. Oh. Fang Gouyu summoned a flying sword, which floated in front of her and protected Dongfang Ying firmly behind her. She looked at the sky in horror. That was actually a soul formation cultivator. Fellow Daoist, who are you? Since you've come to my residence as a guest, why are you hiding your head and showing your tail, not daring to show your true face? You're not being honest enough. Lin Hanqing soared into the sky and rushed toward the man with the bronze mask who was controlling the strange snake god. He held a long halberd in his hand and confronted him in the air through the protective array. Under the impact of the strange snake god, the protective array rippled violently and terrifying cracks appeared. Every time it healed, it would split open again and the cracks would grow bigger and bigger. You don't have enough to know my identity. The man with the bronze mask had a cold gaze. Upon closer inspection, it was actually a pair of golden vertical pupils. This bronze mask was different from others. It had exaggerated facial features, long and wide ears, an eagle-like nose, an exaggeratedly large mouth and two pillar-like eyes. Its eyebrows were very wide, and there was a hole in its forehead, as if it had been prepared for the eyes on its forehead. A demon cultivator. But the next moment, Lin Hanqing felt that the situation was a little strange. He raised his hand and golden dragon scales appeared on his palm. A ray of golden light shot out and with a crack, the cracks on the protective array suddenly expanded again. This time the cracks could not be healed because the foundation of the array was destroyed at the same time. Eastern Emperor Dragon Rhino Finger. This was a technique of the Eastern Imperial family. It was 10 times or 100 times more powerful than the Eastern Purple Chi technique. It should be said that the Eastern Purple Chi technique evolved from this technique. The Eastern Emperor Dragon Rhino Finger could only be cultivated by the Emperor of the Imperial family. Even dukes, aristocratic families, important ministers and princesses were not allowed to cultivate it. This person was from the Eastern Imperial family. This was not a hidden assassin. No matter how strong the Duke of Beijiang was, he could not make someone from the Imperial family be his assassin. Lin Hanqing's heart beat wildly, but before he could think carefully he was shocked. What? The foundation of the array and the eye of the array have been destroyed. When Lin Hanqing sensed this, his expression changed drastically. Haha. After biting for a long time, I finally destroyed the foundation of the array. Suddenly, a squeaking sound that sounded like the squeaking of a mouse rang out. The ground in the Marquis's mansion bulged and sunk. Dust filled the air. The rockery collapsed and bricks and stones flew everywhere. A cultivator with the head of a mouse and a few mustaches sneaked out. He stared at Princess Dongfang maliciously and said, "Protect the princess." Lin Hanqing wanted to help, but it was too late. It was because the soul formation cultivators and nascent soul stage cultivators had risen from the ground and charged into the cracks of the array shield like arrows. Green wood, black water, storm, raging flame, fierce tiger, giant elephant, flood dragon. One after another, strange and treacherous domains instantly spread out. Numerous indomitable gods propped up the sky above the Marquis mansion. Vast Dharma power rushed to the sky, suppressing Lin Hanqing and the cultivators of the Lord's mansion. In an instant, 5 soul formation divine lords and hundreds of nascent soul heavenly lords gathered, and their power was overwhelming. Not to mention the 5 terrifying soul formation cultivators. Those nascent soul cultivators were all at the 8th or 9th grade and were at the peak of the perfected state. The cultivators of the Lord Jinyuan's mansion, Fang Gouyu, and the forces left behind by the second prince were definitely no match for them. At that moment, countless people in the sky and on the ground held their breaths. All the descendants and guards of the Lord Jinyuan's mansion were terrified. Kill. As the two sides gave the order. The hidden assassins? What's going to happen is finally here. I'll use my life to see how powerful the hidden assassins of the Duke of Beijiang are. The soul formation grand cultivator brought by Fang Gouyu gritted his teeth and shot to the sky. Unleashing the torrential miasma and flame forbidden domain, he released the 5 poison gods and faced the assassination army head-on. Me too. The soul formation grand cultivator brought by Princess Dongfang also led the royal guards to face the assassination legion. Some gritted their teeth, some were helpless and some were willing to die. A battle broke out. Blood splashed and broken limbs flew everywhere. Cultivators from both sides immediately fell like rain. The entire Lord Jinyuan's mansion fell into a sea of blood. Fang Gouyu and the nascent soul cultivator fought fiercely. Soon she was at a disadvantage and was forced to retreat. Lin Dai was so scared that her face turned pale. She took out her communication jade tablet and shouted, "Everyone from the Wind and Moon Academy, come and protect me. No, protect Princess Dongfang. The Lord has given the order. We must protect Miss Jiang and stay close to her." Guochuandong sent back a message and glanced at Jiang Beibei, who was beside him with a pale face. His right hand, which was holding a dragon tooth blade, tightened again. "Sister Dai, Jiang Beibei has no cultivation and is still a child. She needs more protection." Dongfang Ying shouted, "Once there are no guards, she will be captured immediately. With Miss Fang here, we can at least resist for a while." "Bullshit. She's just a servant's girl. How can she be considered a rich young lady? He dies, then so be it. What's there to protect?" Lin Dai turned a deaf ear to the princess's advice and only urged Guochuandong. Her face was covered with frost and she shouted angrily, "If you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll kill you. Get everyone back here. Don't forget you are only servants of the Lin family." Chapter 1872. Forget it, forget it. When the large black dog heard the argument, he stood up on his hind legs and placed his paws on his waist. There was an anthropomorphic arrogance on his face and he humphed, "Brother Gui, you guys can go. Even a soul formation cultivator won't be enough for me, let alone a few nascent soul cultivators. I can protect Miss. Hey, be careful." Guochuandong was helpless. He gritted his teeth and hurriedly flew over with his men. Then the soul formation cultivator with the bronze mask shouted, "Friends, don't fight. Kill Lin Dai, and capture Jiang Xiqing's daughter alive." "Sir." Whoosh. All of the assassins suddenly shook off their opponents and split up into several groups. Their auras soared into the sky and from all directions, they rushed towards Dongfang Ying and Jiang Beibei's location with an earth-shattering might. At the moment, the soul formation cultivator that Fang Goyu had brought from Duke Nanhe's residence had already died. The princess' personal guard was also severely injured. Lin Hanqing was the only half-step soul formation cultivator left. The rest were all nascent soul cultivators. At that moment, countless people in the sky and on the ground held their breaths and looked desperate. Lin Dai held Princess Dongfang's hand so tightly that she was sweating. Fang Goyu gritted her teeth and looked at the sky. Many nascent soul cultivators of the Lin family, guests and guards also activated their Dharma power to the extreme and gathered above the two courtyards, ready to fight to the death. At this moment there was a loud bang. A beam of golden light suddenly appeared in the sky. That golden light was so bright, so magnificent and dazzling. It was like a sun jumping out of the mountains and seas. The golden light cut through the layers of defenses of Maple City like a knife cutting through butter. The moment the golden light appeared, the entire Maple City within a radius of 100 kilometers was illuminated. Not a single corner could hide from it. Everyone couldn't help but look up. He could only see a godly disk floating in the air like a galaxy. A person in the divine plate stepped on the ground and came with his hands behind his back. He was wearing a black robe and had black hair, but there were some white hair on his temples. His facial features were deep and his eyes were shining with golden flames, as if a god had descended. "Jiang Xiqing!" everyone exclaimed in disbelief. Because at that moment, they didn't feel like they were facing a golden core cultivator, but an extremely powerful soul formation cultivator. After all, Jiang Tian had broken the defense array of Maple City, which could stop a soul formation grand cultivator. "Reinforcements have arrived. Zhang Linfeng, Zhang Muyun, disperse the formation," Jiang Tian said with a hint of anger through his divine sense. At this moment, Zhang Muyun, the person in charge of the city defense, actually activated all of the city defense formations. He was very strong so he could break through it. However, ordinary divine transformation realm and nascent soul realm cultivators would find it difficult to enter. The enemy has already broken into the city. "Zhang Muyun, are you activating the formation to stop the enemy or to stop the reinforcements?" And Zhang Linfeng at this moment was entrenched on the city gate tower instead of killing and protecting his master in the Jinyuan Marquis residence. He really knows how to slack off. "Yes, Mr. Jiang." Zhang Muyun was so frightened that his body trembled. He quickly gave the order. The bronze-masked divine transformation realm cultivator who was commanding from high up in the sky was just about to shout out a warning. Bang bang bang. After a series of explosions, 9 soul formation grand cultivators rose to the sky. They were all 1,000 meters tall. Some were vines, some were puppets, some were flames, some were cauldrons, and some were pagoda. Their vast divine regions were activated at the same time. They were as earth-shattering as mountains in the deep sea and were approaching from all directions. Run! The bronze-masked cultivator immediately gave an order, but it was already too late. Ancient vines. A soul formation grand cultivator of the ancient medicine hall arrived. The vine-like god shot to the sky like a dragon and arrived in a flash, binding the neck of a soul formation assassin. It was like a long tassel in the hand that bound a dragon. Suddenly it tightened its grip. Crack! The neck was shattered and the blood that flowed out seemed to be slowly bursting out from the neck cavity, sprinkling in the air. The moment the head flew from the neck, there was a strange kind of poignant beauty. Suppression of the giant cauldron. A roar broke the momentary silence. Another soul formation stage cultivator from the ancient medicine hall uttered 4 words in a casual tone. In a blink, 1,000-meter cauldron smashed towards the group of assassins like a meteorite, crushing a soul formation cultivator and a dozen nascent soul cultivators. Tiski. Do you think I'm easy to deal with? Are you looking down on me? Fire gourd. Seeing that the assassins were running in all directions, another divinity transformation stage cultivator of the Hall of Ancient Medicines took out a red calabash that was half a man tall and pulled out the stopper. Immediately the calabash spurted out furious true fire, burning countless scattered soldiers into flames. That was the solar true fire collected by the Hall of Ancient Medicine. It was like a giant sun that was extremely hot, capable of burning gold and boiling oceans. The assassin army suffered a devastating blow. Be it nascent soul cultivators or soul formation cultivators, they were all killed when they touched it. The situation took a turn for the worse. The assassin army, which had the upper hand at first, was like a group of sheep when surrounded by the 9 soul formation cultivators of the ancient medicine hall. They couldn't fight back at all. That was definitely a massacre. In order to escort Jiang Tian and show respect to Jiang Tian, the ancient medicine hall had sent all the soul formation cultivators, except for the Grand Master and Elder Gu. It was a super luxurious lineup. They thought it was just a formality to see Jiang Tian off, but they didn't expect to encounter an assassination. That also gave the soul formation cultivators a chance to show their friendship to Jiang Tian. There was only one outcome when facing such overwhelming power. They would all die. Don't kill him. When the 9 soul formation cultivators surrounded the man with the bronze mask and were about to attack, Jiang Tian suddenly raised his hand and said. The man with the bronze mask looked at Jiang Tian and asked, Sister Xiqing, what do you want to do with me? Jiang Tian said expressionlessly, I'll capture you and take you to the capital to meet the emperor. I want to know who you are and why you want to assassinate the Duke of Xinyuan's residence. Take me to the capital to meet the emperor? The man with the bronze mask chuckled and said, That depends on whether your sword is fast enough. He slowly raised his palm and suddenly slammed it heavily on the bronze mask. The bronze mask shattered into pieces, and even the face under the mask was smashed into smithereens. Duke of Xinyun, you're quite capable. Even the ancient medicine hall is working for you. However, the Dongfang family will be ruined in the hands of dukes and marquises like you sooner or later. His face was shattered and his head split open. His aura was weak and soon after he breathed his last. However, his body stood there steadily, not falling. The soul formation cultivators of the ancient medicine hall yelled and hurried forward. But Jiang Tian stood there without moving. He didn't stop the man with the bronze mask from killing himself. He didn't even want to do anything. In the sky far away, Duke of Xinyun Lin Hanqing's eyes twitched when he saw that. When Jiang Tian said those words, he actually wanted to force the bronze-masked man to commit suicide. No matter who was under the mask, he must be a high-ranking member of the royal family. He must be someone of great importance to the emperor. If he was captured alive and brought to the capital to meet the emperor, not only would it embarrass the emperor, but it would also cause discord between the emperor and the emperor. It would be a problem whether or not the emperor would kill him. If his true identity was exposed, the Dongfang family's prestige would be severely damaged. Even the court would secretly talk about it and guess whether he wanted to destroy the Duke of Xinyuan's residence or if he was instructed by the emperor. The rule of the Eastern imperial family was already on the brink of collapse and was extremely unstable, let alone this kind of thing. As a high-ranking member of the royal family, he had to kill himself. He couldn't let the Dongfang family fall into a passive position and embarrass them. Therefore he had to destroy his face so that no one would know his true identity. Jiang Tian didn't stop him because he wanted him to kill himself. He didn't want to bring him to the capital to meet the emperor. Even if he didn't destroy his face, Jiang Tian would help him destroy his face. Jiang Tian didn't want Lin Hanqing to be at odds with the royal family. At least for now he didn't want them to be at odds. My friend, this matter is over. I'll take my leave. A few soul formation cultivators of the ancient medicine hall went forward and bowed to Jiang Tian. As for Lin Hanqing, they only nodded slightly and didn't even tell him their names. They were of noble status. A mere duke of a mortal kingdom wasn't enough for them to treat him seriously. My friends, take care. Jiang Tian nodded slightly. The leaders of the ancient medicine hall came quickly and left even faster. In the blink of an eye they were all gone, leaving only the Xianyuan marquis residence in a mess of dust and corpses strewn across the ground. Lin Dyer couldn't believe it when she saw Jiang Tian talking to a few soul formation cultivators on an equal footing. Those soul formation cultivators were even very polite. At this moment she recalled her parents' matchmaking. She couldn't help but feel a bit moved and regretful. His status was probably on par with Li Yichen's. Mr. Jiang is back. We won. We're safe. Fang Goyu was covered in blood and shouted excitedly. Immediately there were cheers. Princess Dongfang Ying had experienced life and death. She was already crying tears of joy. Chapter 1873. Princess Dongfang Ying, on the other hand, had experienced life and death. She was already crying tears of joy. She quickly flew to the Wind and Moon courtyard, hugged Jiang Beibei and looked her up and down. She cried and asked, "Beibei, are you okay? It's all my fault. I should have been with you in the courtyard." "Sister, I'm fine." Jiang Beibei smiled sweetly. "Don't be so nervous. Uncle Dahe is not simple. If a soul formation cultivator really comes, he can stop them." That's good, that's good." Dongfang Ying turned to look at the sky. Jiang Tian had already flown over. "Dad, you're finally back." Jiang Beibei's face was full of joy as she jumped and shouted. Jiang Tian floated down and touched his daughter's head. He smiled and said, "Are you scared?" "I'm not scared. I've seen big scenes," Jiang Beibei said proudly. The little girl was referring to the battle between Jiang Tian and many Big Dipper overlords in front of Earth, but she didn't say it clearly. Jiang Tian had already reminded her not to mention anything that happened on Earth, in case the mighty figures above the 9 heavens heard it. This time the Xianyuan Marquis mansion suffered heavy losses. Many members and guards had died. The Soul Formation Realm guards brought by Fang Goyu and Dongfang Ying had all died tragically. The funeral was held. The mansion was filled with mournful music. From time to time, there would be waves of suppressed crying. Everyone was gloomy and uneasy. They were shrouded in dark clouds. That night Lin Hanqing held a banquet to welcome Jiang Tian. After Jiang Tian coaxed his daughter to sleep, he immediately went to the Marquis mansion to meet Lin Hanqing. Only Lin Yang was with him. "Mr. Jiang, it's been a long journey. I didn't expect you to get the Falling Sun Stone. How rare." Lin Hanqing cupped his fists and bowed. He had already heard about Jiang Tian's deeds from his son. It was simply shocking. He didn't know where fellow cultivator Jiang came from. He was simply too heaven-defying. Jiang Tian said with a half-smile, "It's just a small trick. It's not worth mentioning." To Jiang Tian, the heavenly mending pill really wasn't a pill formula worth showing off. It was only the Yuan Dan of the Golden Core stage, but it was of a higher grade. In fact, if he was willing, he could even refine medicinal pills that could repair gods. This wasn't a problem at all. Sighed to Mr. It's just a small trick. But to us, it's an amazing pill saint technique. Lin Hanqing was full of admiration. With just a pill formula, perhaps it could be said that Jiang Tian was lucky. However, Jiang Tian was able to subdue a big shot in the alchemy world like Elder Gu. That was amazing. Excitement welled up in his heart. Allowing Jiang Tian to stay was tantamount to establishing a connection with the ancient medicine hall. This kind of holy land was above the empires. Not to mention the nobles, even the royal family did not dare to provoke them. Instantly he felt his back straighten. Today Daoist was insensible and forcefully ordered Guochuandong to leave his post. "She didn't protect Beibei well, and I apologize to you on her behalf." After this I will punish her severely. Lin Hanqing bowed apologetically, his attitude sincere. When he saw this incident he was so angry that he almost went crazy. However, Lin Dai had grown up and was not easy to discipline. He directly ordered her to apologize to Jiang Tian, and she tried to kill herself. So he could only apologize himself. I'm very angry about this incident. Don't let it happen again. Jiang Tian said in a low voice. Lin Dai had indeed crossed the line in this matter and touched Jiang Tian's bottom line. What kind of person am I, Kong Teichu? I can roam the Saint Origin world and search for treasures everywhere. For old time's sake I ran around for you and participated in these boring imperial court battles, but you don't even care about my daughter's life. If not for the fact that Jiang Tian was a person who clearly distinguished between kindness and hatred and knew how to repay kindness, if not for the fact that Lin Hanqing and his son had taken care of him many times in his previous life, if Lin Hanqing had pretended not to know, he would have already left in a huff, unwilling to look at Lin Dai's stupid face. Yes. I will definitely remember Mister's words. Lin Hanqing wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and quickly agreed. Jiang Tian was easygoing. It's okay, and I don't blame you for not knowing, but the words, I'm very angry, proved that he was extremely angry. Letting Jiang Tian sit at the head of the table, Jiang Tian calmly accepted. Originally, his strength was much stronger than Lin Hanqing's, and the benefits he would bring to the Lin family in the future were unimaginable. What do you think about today's assassination? After 3 rounds of wine and 5 dishes, Lin Hanqing suddenly asked. Imperial family monster cultivators sects. Jiang Tian said leisurely. In fact, Jiang Tian had also thought about the rebellion started by Purple Marquis and the mastermind behind it for a few days. However, there were very few records about this and it was all a secret in his previous life. The Eastern Imperial family seemed to have intentionally covered up the truth, and Jiang Tian had obtained very little information in his previous life, only a few unofficial notes and a few words. But today, after seeing the bronze-masked man, Jiang Tian suddenly connected the many fragments of information with a single clue, and he suddenly understood. Imperial family? Monster cultivators? Sex? What do you mean? Lin Hanqing was confused. You heard that I have a good relationship with the ancient medicine hall, and you saw several soul formation elders of the ancient medicine hall kill the assassin for me. How do you feel? Jiang Tian did not directly answer and instead asked with a smile. I feel that the sects are too strong. Cough cough, if we have their support, then our family will soar into the sky and we will have nothing to fear. We will no longer be bullied by Purple Marquis Duke of Beijiang and those other bastards. Suppressing Purple Marquis and fighting for the position of one of the 4 great dukes of the empire will not be a problem. Lin Hanqing's face was slightly red as he said embarrassedly. Dad, I feel more excited than you. Next to him, Lin Yang said with a smug face, Purple Marquis and even the 4 great dukes, they are nothing. You didn't see it, but the proud daughter of the Duke of Eastern Gorge knelt before Brother Jiang. Being praised by the Holy Land Divine Sect is so awesome. At that time I thought that with Brother Jiang as the pillar of our family, even the princess and the crown prince should kneel before us. Not to mention the 4 great dukes, even the emperor of the Eastern Imperial family is something we can think about, haha. The emperor's throne will be taken by turns and today it is our turn. Lin Yang was originally a good-for-nothing, and with the stimulation of the immortal wine, he did not have any scruples when speaking. He did not even think that his words were already suspected of rebelling against his superiors. Lin Hanqing was shocked and hurriedly said, Little bastard, what nonsense are you talking about? He had to admit that when he saw the mighty figures of the ancient medicine hall act like cutting melons and vegetables, he also had the same thought, but he quickly suppressed it. Although he occasionally complained about the Eastern Imperial family, at the end of the day he was still a person loyal to the imperial power. Yes. Jiang Tian said leisurely, in fact any marquis will have the same thought when they become powerful. The foundation of the imperial power is violence, but once the marquis has enough violence, they will have the motive to overthrow the imperial power. Above the imperial power of the empire, there are many powerful sects that transcend worldly affairs. Once the dukes and marquis families gain the support of these sects, they will quickly become a threat to the imperial family. You can think of this, but can the imperial family not think of it? Jiang Tian said calmly, like Zhuge Liang who had the pearl of wisdom in his hands. I understand. Lin Hanqing's heart was beating wildly and he felt cold all over. Because Lin Dyer was chosen by the Nine Mysteries sect and passed the selection, she is about to become an elite disciple. Therefore, some people in the imperial family are very afraid and vigilant. Therefore, today's order is to kill Dyer and your daughter. Jiang Tian nodded and said, the assassination attempt on my daughter was just to set up a maze and divert the trouble away. It is to make us fight with the Duke of Beijiang. After all, I once destroyed Bai Zhanyun's cultivation. In fact, we were also worried about the assassination attempt by the Dark Assassins. However, the Duke of Beijiang should know that I have a partnership with the ancient medicine hall. Why would he dare to play tricks? Even if he really wanted to use the Dark Assassins to assassinate, why would he expose his identity and shout that we are the Dark Assassins? If the imperial family knew, they would punish the Duke of Beijiang. He deliberately aggravated the conflict and made us and the Duke of Beijiang kill each other. This is too cruel. Lin Yang was shocked. What a scheming person. Which power in the imperial family? The second prince? That's impossible. The marquises don't seem to have such high cultivation. Could it be the crown prince Dongfang Ding? That's impossible. He was originally going to inherit the throne and become the future emperor. He should be supporting us to suppress the Marquis of Purple Robe to prevent him from threatening the imperial power. Lin Hanqing made a series of guesses, but they were all denied by himself. He was at a loss. Chapter 1874. None of them. Jiang Tian leisurely sipped his tea and calmly said, in my opinion, it should be the late emperor. Late emperor? The Dongfang Jia that has been missing for 500 years. Lin Hanqing turned pale with fright. Impossible? Is he still alive? Late Emperor Dongfang Jia, who is he? How come there is no record of him in the history books? Lin Yang had an adorable expression. Ugly and useless, you should read more books. Lin Hanqing glared at him and said, Dongfang Jia is Dongfang Lu's older brother. The crown prince of that year smoothly inherited the throne 500 years ago. However, in the first year of his ascension, he ordered the removal of the feudal vassals and changed the enfeoffment system to a county system. The dukes and marquis families were changed to idle families. Their living expenses were the same as the royal families and were distributed by the royal treasury. Lin Hanqing's expression was serious, as if he had returned to the distant past, to the glorious years of bloody battles. He said, that time 3 dukes and 28 marquises, a total of 31 feudal vassals rebelled. Of the 4 dukes, other than Duke Nan, all rebelled. The imperial army and the allied forces of the feudal lords fought a bloody battle for 3 years. Millions of people died in battle and the people were plunged into misery and suffering. Finally, the imperial capital was breached, and the 31 feudal lords occupied the imperial city. They elected the weak-willed Eastern Lu as the emperor and installed a new ruler. Only then did this dynasty come into being. Dongfang Jia was defeated like a landslide and fled to the evil-infested ridge. He was attacked by the feudal vassals and his fate is unknown. Could it be that Dongfang Jia didn't die and came back? I don't know. Jiang Tian smiled. The dead person shouldn't be Dongfang Jia. But he must be someone from the Dongfang royal family and held an important position. Yes, he didn't want the feudal vassals to rise, but he was worried that they would rebel again and seize the throne. Thus he didn't hesitate to commit suicide. No matter what, the meat needs to rot in the pot. Whether it's Dongfang Jia's world or Dongfang Lu's world, it can't belong to the feudal vassals. Lin Hanqing said with an absent-minded gaze. In fact, the royal family supported Dongfang Jia in the past. Even now, many of them still promote the county system and despise the feudal system. Jiang Tian nodded slightly. This is also the reality. There are many drawbacks to the feudal system. For example, the Eastern Gorge Duke and the Northern Frontier Duke don't pay tribute, leaving the national treasury empty. Even the Second Highness, who controls the Imperial Trading Company, can't afford a single sunfall stone. However, none of the nobles can afford it, yet they still dare to raise the price. Moreover, you all have your own troops. Also, the title of nobility is hereditary. For example, Brother Lin Yang is a good-for-nothing. He can't write to pacify the world and he can't kill the enemy and protect the people. However, he sits on an endless family property, enjoys beautiful wives and concubines and can also eat and drink well. Commoners simply don't have the chance to advance. Oh, where are my beautiful wives and concubines? Send it to me. Dongfang Jie's men are here to assassinate your precious daughter, and you still think that he's reasonable. Lin Yang angrily said in a depressed manner. Those who are kind to me are good and those who are evil are evil. Since Dongfang Jie dared to attack my daughter and the Lin family, I will definitely kill him. However, objectively speaking, the county system is indeed more advantageous than the feudal system. Jiang Tian was very detached and fair about this. Suddenly Lin Yang asked, what kind of role does the purple marquis play in this dispute? I've underestimated this person. Jiang Tian said with a smile that was not a smile. Originally, I thought that the purple marquis only wanted to merge and expand, and even betray the Dongfang imperial family one day. But now it seems that he is Dongfang Jie's shitstirrer to stir up conflict. Even if he wants to expand, in the end he will have to give up his land and change it to a county. Tiskti, this kid has some political ideals. Lin Yang didn't know if he was disdainful or admiring. Jiang Tian smiled leisurely and said, however, this is all my guess and I can't be sure. Whether it's true or not, we have to wait for the Hidden Dragon trials. Hidden Dragon trials? Lin Hanqing and his son were confused. In the previous Hidden Dragon trials, they used testing equipment to test one's cultivation. It was very gentle. But if someone in the imperial family wants to remove the vassals again, they will use actual combat and fight to the death. Hearing Jiang Tian's words, Lin Yang was so scared that his face turned pale. Damn, then if I meet Yang Xian or some other genius, won't I be beaten to death? Lin Yang exclaimed. That's exactly what I want. If you don't want to die, give up your land. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Also, it seems cruel, but there will definitely be people who support it. For example, the Duke of Eastern Gorge, the Duke of Northern Frontier, the Marquis of Purple Marquis and other powerful dukes and marquis. Not only can they take the land of the loser, but they can also kill the loser and eliminate all future troubles. Isn't that perfect? However, Jiang Tian's smile made people feel that it was very cruel. At that time there will be two situations. First, the powerful dukes will merge with the smaller dukes and gradually they will be able to challenge the imperial family. Second, the defeated dukes will have to give up their land after losing people. Why would they agree? There will definitely be a war between dukes and dukes. Lin Hanqing's heart was cold as he said with a trembling voice. The powerful dukes and marquis have not completed the merger, but they have already lost countless people and their strength has been greatly damaged. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. At that time the imperial family experts that Dongfang Jie has been raising for 500 years will come out in the name of quelling the rebellion. They will wipe out all the dukes and implement the county system. The dukes and dukes will become the dust of history. Exactly. Jiang Tian nodded approvingly. The era of great war is coming. Lin Hanqing and his son were uneasy, but they were also a little excited. It's fine. We'll deal with it as it comes. As long as we become stronger, we will be invincible. The most important thing now is to cure the princess's illness. Jiang Tian said with a smile. There was something he didn't say. He still had to secretly hunt down Dongfang Jie. If he dared to assassinate his daughter, he would be tired of living. Yes. Lin Hanqing also felt that there were many things to do, but they had to be done step by step. Let's not talk about my cooperation with the ancient medicine hall. It's strictly confidential. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Some people in the Dongfang royal family hate the dukes and marquis families that have connections with the sect. The rafters that stick out will rot first. We should keep a low profile for now. Let's put aside the matter of Dai Air entering the Nine Mysteries sect for now. Jiang Tian casually taught her a cultivation method. Wouldn't it be much better than the Nine Mysteries sect? Lin Hanqing didn't hesitate and repeatedly agreed. After the banquet ended, Jiang Tian rejected the Lin Hanqing and his son's offer to send him off. He left the marquis mansion with his hands behind his back and slowly walked towards the Windy Moon courtyard. It was already late autumn. The maple trees on both sides of the road had red leaves that were like fire. There were dewdrops hanging from them. In the faint fog, the dewdrops slowly fell on the clean granite road, adding a sense of desolation. Sigh, I wonder what will happen to Qing'er after she is brought to the Hengyu Immortal sect. Jiang Tian looked up at the starry sky. It was a starry sky that was completely different from the Milky Way. It was much more vast and profound. The stars were scattered all over the place, dazzling and dazzling. The melancholy in his heart gradually thickened. He leisurely sighed. The treasure of the evil-infested ridge will appear in 3 years. This indicates that I still have to walk the path of becoming immortal for 3 more years. After becoming a spirit-severing expert, I will meet up with Huanglinger and then head towards the territory of the 9 great immortal sects. He was immersed in mourning. Suddenly, along with a fragrant wind, a soft and pleasant voice interrupted his thoughts. Senior, do you want to go back and rest? I'll accompany you. It just so happens that I brought some pastries for Bei Bei. Jiang Tian glanced at Lin Dai Air. This girl seemed to have dressed up meticulously tonight. Her beautiful eyebrows were lightly swept, and her beautiful eyes were shining. Her neck was encircled by a gemstone necklace, which made her jade face shine. Because the family was in mourning, she wore a black robe which set off her snow-white skin. Her delicate body was curvaceous, slim and elegant. A subtle fragrance floated in the air, very attractive. She also carried 2 boxes of pastries in her hands. With a shy and flattering smile, she said, "The chef of the building of Pines and Cranes makes purple cloud pastries. Bei Bei will definitely like it." "Forget it. Bei Bei likes to make his own pastries. He's very picky. You can keep them for yourself." Jiang Tian tactfully refused, turned around and left. In fact, he was extremely annoyed with this girl. However, for the sake of Lin Hanqing and his son, he didn't throw his face. Chapter 1875. In his previous life, Jiang Tian had experienced this woman's snobbishness and ruthlessness. It was so chilling. Looking at her attitude towards her daughter, he knew that she had been like this since she was a child. Jiang Tian could see through her change from arrogance to deference. She saw that Jiang Tian was friends with the elders of the Hall of Ancient Medicine and thought that Jiang Tian was powerful, so she came to curry favor with him. Seeing Jiang Tian's disdain, Lin Dyer's pretty face was filled with anger, but she quickly hid it. She followed Jiang Tian with her hands behind her back and said innocently, "Are the semi-god realm cultivators who were with you at noon your friends? Why are they so respectful to you?" "Do I need to tell you this?" Jiang Tian said indifferently. "When you came, you were just an itinerant cultivator. What about now?" Lin Dyer's tone gradually turned cold. "What about now?" Jiang Tian sneered contemptuously. "Do I need to explain my actions to you?" "You do need to explain to me." Lin Dyer stepped forward and stopped Jiang Tian. Her face was arrogant and angry. She said coldly, "I am your master. Okay, let's say I am a slave in your eyes. Then what do you need to explain?" Jiang Tian's face gradually turned cold and he asked in a deep voice. "Don't be so stubborn and make it sound so unpleasant. What do I need to explain? Of course, why the assassins suddenly attacked. Isn't this the consequence of offending the Duke of Beijiang? Tell me, did you offend the Bai family again in the Duke of Beijiang's territory?" Lin Dyer said coldly. "I have already warned you that the Duke of Beijiang's strength is terrifying. He is someone you and the Lin family can't afford to offend. However, you are arrogant and disdainful. You turned a deaf ear to my advice. You are as stubborn as a block of wood. Now, if it weren't for your unscrupulous actions, would the Lin family, the Fong family, and even the second prince have suffered such heavy losses?" Jiang Tian was so angry that he laughed. He asked, "How can you be so sure that they are the assassins and the Duke of Beijiang's men? They said it themselves. If they claim to be immortals from the 9 heavens, would you really think that they were immortals from the 9 heavens and go to the 9 heavens immortal realm?" Jiang Tian laughed. This, Lin Dai, was tongue-tied and speechless. Only then did she realize that her first impression was the strongest. Jiang Tian's words were very reasonable. If they were really assassins, why did they have to announce their identities? Wouldn't that be causing trouble for her and the Duke of Beijiang? After all, it was not yet time for a war between the vassals. It doesn't matter if your brain doesn't work too well. Think more when you run into trouble. Jiang Tian walked into the courtyard and slammed the door shut. After being rejected by Jiang Tian, Lin Dyer felt extremely wronged. She didn't understand why things had turned out this way. She had come here to please and get close to Jiang Tian. But Lin Dyer slammed the pastry on the door and shouted angrily, "I'm here to remind you to be careful. But you don't know how to appreciate good intentions. Do you think you're so great just because you know a few leaders from the sacred ground? After all, you're not from the sacred ground. You can't compare to geniuses like Li Yichen and Yan Beifei. I'll let you be arrogant, but you'll suffer and cry one day." As she spoke, she stomped on the crumbs of the pastry and said angrily, "Just take it that my good intentions have been fed to the dogs." Jiang Tian didn't care what this crazy woman thought. With the falling sunstone, dragon bone, 9 suns grass, and many other supplementary herbs, he quickly immersed himself in refining pills and didn't leave the room. Yang pill. This was a kind of extreme yang pill that could adjust one's yin body and achieve the effect of balancing yin and yang. However, it was very difficult to refine. In particular, the falling sunstone's medicinal properties were very strong and contained surging and violent energy. It was like a fragment of the sun with the impurities of the heavenly yang. It needed to be separated and removed using a mysterious skill. If it was careless, it could explode and raise the entire Maple City and even the Red Rock Basin to the ground. However, Jiang Tian now had the 3 flowers at one's prominence, 5 qis at origin, divine body, chaotic 9 orifices, divine infant, and 9 divine laws. He was at the peak of the divine infant realm, so refining this kind of pill was a piece of cake. Jiang Tian was also bold because of his skill. Otherwise, even if Elder Gu was refining it, he would have to go to the wilderness to avoid causing a big explosion. Normally, refining this kind of complicated pill would take at least a few months, but Jiang Tian used the chrono disc to speed it up, so it only took him 10 days to succeed. Whoosh! Jiang Tian waved his right hand and the vermilion bird primordial fire dissipated. A round pill floated in the air. This pill was the size of a pigeon's egg. It was steaming hot and shining as if it contained endless sunlight. Jiang Tian's gaze was calm and deep. Without batting an eyelid, he put away the pill in an ice jade box and sealed the terrifying spiritual energy fluctuations. He walked out of the door slowly. However, when he arrived at the courtyard where the princess and Lin Dieter lived, his face darkened. Only to see a woman dressed in crystal armor holding a flying sword, parrying Dongfang Ying's moves. Dongfang Ying was completely at a disadvantage. She was panting and her forehead was covered in sweat. Fang Goyu and Lin Dieter stood to the side, watching the two of them fight without blinking. There was a faint look of admiration in their eyes. It was impossible to tell the age of this armored woman. Her skin was as delicate as a 16-year-old girl's, but her figure was very mature. Her curves were exquisite and sexy as if she was in her 20s. However, her beautiful eyes were calm as if she had seen the vicissitudes of life. Her phoenix-like eyes were awe-inspiring. As she shouted, she was quite strict. Her every movement showed that she was not inferior to men. She deliberately suppressed her cultivation. However, with Jiang Tian's vast consciousness, he could naturally determine that this woman was a divine transformation cultivator. Here. When Jiang Tian saw this, the corners of his mouth twitched. He shook his head slightly and sneered in his heart, "Idiot. As the saying goes, big breasts have no brains. The ancients did not lie to me." When Jiang Tian's action of curling his lips and shaking his head fell into the eyes of the sexy woman, it was a disaster. Where did this lecher come from? How dare he behave so atrociously here? How dare he enter the women's residence without notifying us? The sexy woman was not in a good mood to begin with. When she saw this scene, she became even angrier and shouted angrily. Jiang Tian turned his head and looked at Fang Goyu. He snorted coldly and said, "Who is this stupid woman? Why is she so inflexible and convoluted? How can we cultivators have so many rules between men and women?" Stupid woman. Fang Goyu was stunned. Her mouth opened so wide that a duck egg could be stuffed in. Her face was stunned and she smiled bitterly. She did not know how to answer. "Bastard. You ruined my future. I'll let you die." Lin Dieter, on the other hand, had a gloating expression. This was because Lin Hanqing had stopped her from joining the 9 Mysteries sect. He had even sent a flying sword message to the 9 Mysteries sect, requesting to withdraw. He thought about it. This matter must have been instigated by Jiang Tian. Therefore she hated Jiang Tian to the core. Chapter 1876. "You madman, who are you calling a stupid woman?" The sexy woman retorted, feeling rather angry. "Who else could it be other than you?" Jiang Tian was angered by the words, lecher, and madman. He said coldly, "If I remember correctly, I said last time that Dongfang girl should stop cultivating. I'd like to ask who arranged for such an idiot to be by the princess side. If I have to remind you again and again about such a basic idiotic question, then I'll have to consider asking you to find someone else to treat the princess's illness. Also, you idiot woman, don't put your sword on the princess's neck for no reason. If your heart palpitates, your mind will sway, and if your mind sways, your qi will leak. The princess's yang qi is already very weak. Do you think she won't die quickly enough? The most idiotic thing is that the wooden sword you're using is actually made of profound cloud wood. This wood has a yin attribute and will trigger the princess's 9 yin fiend. Fang Goyu and many guards, you're just watching from the side and not stopping it. Are you all idiots? The woman was originally aggressive, but after being scolded by Zhang Tian, she was stunned for a moment. She was especially surprised that he could recognize the profound cloud wood at a glance. Dong Fangying, on the other hand, ran over with the innocence of a young girl and pulled on Zhang Tian's sleeve. She said timidly, "All right, Mr. Jiang Antimo, you just came back from an adventure this morning and rushed to Maple City. She still doesn't know anything about my illness. Please forgive her this time." Princess Mou, eldest Princess Dongfang Moyu. Jiang Tian was slightly stunned. This woman was the younger sister of Emperor Dongfang Lu and the late Emperor Dongfang Jie. She could be said to be the #1 genius of the previous generation of the Eastern Empire's royal family. She reached the nascent soul stage at the age of 100 and the divine transformation stage at the age of 500. Moreover, she was not inferior to men. She killed evil sects and gangs, suppressed demonic beast riots, pacified rebellions, and made great contributions time and time again. She left behind many colorful deeds in the history of the empire and was known as the empire's #1 female war god. Dukes could not be afraid of Eastern Lu, but they definitely would not be afraid of Dongfang Moyu. In his previous life, she had also contributed greatly to the suppression of the Purple Marquis's rebellion. However, for some unknown reason he changed his name and entered Buddhism, disappearing without a trace. Wait a minute. Eldest Princess Dongfang Moyu regained her senses and shouted, "Xiaoying, tell me clearly. Who needs this brat's forgiveness? Where did I go wrong? Also, little brat, who exactly are you? How can you enter the princess courtyard? How dare you disrespect me?" Jiang Tian was speechless. He used to have various nicknames, but this was the first time he was called Little Brat. However, according to the calendar of the Saint Origin continent, he was only around 20 years old and Dongfang Moyu was already hundreds of years old. It was not wrong for her to call him a brat. "You're old, but all the food you've eaten all these years hasn't reached your stomach, right?" His IQ didn't increase at all. Jiang Tian sneered. You dare to call me stupid again? Do you believe that I won't cut you in half with my sword?" Dongfang Moyu was not a kind person. Dongfang Lu's personality was weak, and his cultivation was not very strong. Dongfang Moyu was his right-hand man. This woman killed countless people and killed countless demons. Naturally, she was fierce. "Senior, apologize to the eldest princess." Lin Dai shouted directly. Dongfang Moyu was not only the eldest princess, but also the chief examiner of the Hidden Dragon trials. How could such a person be offended? "Tisk. Threatening me? With just those few moves of yours, save it." Jiang Tian's face was full of disdain. "Come then, let's fight. You seem to be only at the Golden Core realm. I won't take advantage of you and suppress my cultivation to the Golden Core realm. I'll still beat you until you're looking for your teeth on the ground." Dongfang Moyu's fair face was immediately shrouded in a haze when she heard this. Seeing this expression, Dongfang Ying knew that her aunt was angry and said, "All right, aunt, both of you stop talking. Let me explain. This is Mr. Jiang, the miracle doctor that second brother invited for me. And don't underestimate Mr. Jiang. He's amazing. He can tell that I'm not sick but have an innate 9-yin body. I can't cultivate. Cultivating will increase the burden on my meridians and consume my vitality. His hair hasn't even grown out, but he's aging prematurely. A miracle doctor?" Dongfang Moyu's face was full of disbelief. Dongfang Ying was very innocent. She couldn't have been cheated. Indeed, Mr. Jiang is very powerful. Even the ancient medicine hall admires him. Fang Goyu also explained. The ancient medicine hall admires. A hint of gloominess appeared on Dongfang Moyu's face, but it disappeared in a flash. Then he asked seriously, "How do you plan to treat the little princess?" "Disperse the 9-yin golden core and turn it into vitality. Consume the sunfall stone, dragon bone 9 sungrass, and other great medicines and refine it into yang essence. Then condense it into one and form a new golden core. It will reach the realm of yin and yang transformation and coexistence." Jiang Tian was unperturbed, extremely calm. Shatter the golden core and restore the essence. Pills refined from the sunfall stone. Refine the yin-yang golden core. Kid, do you know what you're saying? When Dongfang Moyu heard this, he felt that he was going crazy. These 3 steps sounded simple, but in fact each step was incomparably complicated and extremely difficult. Any step, if he was not careful, could cause Dongfang Ying to die an unnatural death. Reaching the yin and yang transformation that Jiang Tian had mentioned, the ideal effective coexistence was no less than ascending to the heavens. Idiot, talking nonsense again. Of course I know. Without a steel drill I won't do porcelain work. Jiang Tian sighed. At the side, seeing that his aunt was about to go berserk again, Dongfang Ying hurriedly advised. "Aunt, what Mr. Jiang said is also the truth. If I don't let Mr. Jiang treat me, my lifespan might only be a few years or even a few months. Even if it's a little risky right now, it's worth it." Dongfang Moyu's expression changed a few times. Suddenly he glared coldly at Jiang Tian and said, "I will pay close attention to the entire treatment process. If I find out that the treatment is a scam, you will find that you will die very miserably. Even if you can't cure it, I will still punish you for deceiving the monarch. If you want to see it, just watch." Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, "However, if I can cure the little princess, what will you do?" "As your servant, I will serve you tea and water, massage your legs and shoulders, and even make your bed." Dongfang Moyu laughed coldly. He had a fiery temper. Even if she made a bet, she would not lose by a single point. "Hee, let's go, little princess." Jiang Tian smiled faintly and directly pulled the little princess into her boudoir. At this time, Fang Guoyu also hurriedly sent a message to Lin Hanqing and Lin Yang. Jiang Tian had already refined the pill to improve the little princess's physique. This was a big deal. So fast. It can't be that he refined a fake product, right? If something happens with the eldest princess's personality, I'm afraid she will trample our Lin family to the ground. Lin Hanqing and Lin Yang did not dare to be negligent. They also rushed over excitedly and stood outside the door uneasily. However, Lin Dai found an excuse to leave Maple City. She received a message that the eldest senior brother of the 9 Mysteries sect, Li Yichen, had already come to the Eastern Empire to play. Compared to the eldest disciple of the 9 Mysteries sect, Li Yichen, Jiang Tian was not worth mentioning in her eyes. However, her father had strictly ordered her not to come into contact with the 9 Mysteries sect. Therefore she did not dare to make a sound. In my senses, the little girl's golden core disappeared? He actually shattered it. Dongfang Moyu spread out his divine sense and sensed the changes in Dongfang Ying's body. Suddenly his face was shocked and his heart was shocked. How tough was the golden core? Especially this kind of golden core with the 9 yin physique. Even if the owner's physical body was shattered, it could still be immortal for 1,000 years. Directly shattering the core, shattering it so thoroughly and directly turning it into vitality. Even he himself could not do it so quickly and smoothly. Chapter 1877. Seeing that Jiang Tian had shattered Dongfang Ying's golden core and turned it into vital essence without damaging her dantian in the slightest, Dongfang Moyu was already very shocked. One had to know that the process of a golden core shattering would often burst out with terrifying energy, no less than a nuclear explosion. And Jiang Tian's actions were as if he had controlled nuclear fusion. But what was even more shocking was yet to come. It turned into 9 yin vital essence and did not damage her dantian, nor did it leak at all. Instead, it occupied her dantian, and what was even more exquisite was that it only occupied half of her dantian. What method did this brat use to isolate it? Her dantian was actually divided into 2, becoming 2 relatively independent pill chambers. Creation mysterious technique? Immediately after, Dongfang Moyu was dumbfounded as if he had seen a ghost. Her knowledge was not bad. But in her entire life, not to mention seeing it, she had never even heard of such a heaven-defying method. This is the neutralizing pill. The falling sunstone is clearly a tiger and wolf medicine. Not to mention the great Tao fragment inside, it also has a soaring yang aura. Even a pill saint might not be able to control it, but at this moment, it has become so peaceful and easy to absorb. This is too heaven-defying. Dongfang Moyu was completely unsettled. Seeing this, Dongfang Moyu was almost certain that Jiang Tian was indeed able to harmonize Dongfang Ying's yin and yang in a short period of time and improve her physique. No, it should be said that it was a qualitative change, a soaring leap. From a crippled heavenly body to a supreme sacred body, close to an immortal body. 20 days later in Dongfang Ying's dantian, there was another ball of yang energy overflowing like a sun in the sky. In other words, even if Dongfang Ying had no cultivation, Jiang Tian could let Dongfang Ying reach the peak of the foundation establishment realm with this neutralizing pill. Foundation establishment in 2 days, what kind of concept was that? Even the top prodigies of the empire needed several years of hard work to reach the foundation establishment realm. Even Bai Zhanyin took almost 10 years. As for Jiang Tian, he only used 10 days. I want to acknowledge Mr. Jiang as my master. Lin Yang shouted excitedly. With Mr. Jiang's guidance, won't I be able to advance to the nascent soul realm in a short period of time? At that time I'll be able to keep my fiefin title. Humph humph, how would Uncle Nan and Uncle Fong dare to look down on me? At the side, Lin Hanqing nodded heavily and deeply agreed. At this time even Dongfang Li was alarmed. He hurried over from the imperial city and was extremely excited. 2 months after establishing a new foundation, the creation barrier in Dongfang Ying's dantian was extracted by Jiang Tian. The 2 strands of yin and yang true essence fused into one, forming a golden core in the shape of a yin-yang taiji wheel. When Dongfang Ying advanced to the Jindan stage, there was a natural phenomenon. A great sun rose in his left hand and a silver moon appeared in his right. In his eyes, the sun and the moon intertwined. The sun rose and the moon set, moving back and forth endlessly as if it was a reincarnation cycle. The sun and moon suddenly merged into one behind him, and then turned into a red and white pattern that looked like a yin and yang fish. Then the red and white yin-yang fishes circled around each other and went against the flow, turning into a pillar of light that pierced through heaven and earth. It was said that at that time, even the Lin family's ancestor, who had been in seclusion for hundreds of years, was alarmed. He made an exception and used his supreme magic power to investigate Dongfang Ying. In the end, even the Lin family's ancestor could only confirm that this was an unprecedented and powerful bloodline that was comparable to a sacred body. It was no longer the original Nine waste body. This little girl has reached the heavens in a single step. My Dongfang imperial family has obtained a genius. Dongfang Moyu, who received the Lin family's ancestor's message, cried tears of joy. This Mr. Jiang is extremely heaven-defying and unfathomable. He is truly a rare genius in the empire. Hanqing, you have to treat him with respect. Seeing him is like seeing the ancestor. Treating him is like treating one's parents. The Lin family's ancestors' words were very serious, scaring Lin Hanqing silly. However, after the Lin family's ancestor finished giving his instructions, he went into seclusion again and did not contact Jiang Tian directly. After another month, Dongfang Ying finally came out of seclusion. She had actually reached the peak of the gold core stage and was only a step away from the nascent soul stage. At this moment she no longer had the original sickly and weak feeling. Instead she was in high spirits, giving people a feeling of overflowing youth and vitality. The cold aura in her body had disappeared without a trace, and what replaced it was a kind of balance between yin and yang. It was endless, in harmony with nature, in harmony with heaven and earth, like the abyss of the sea, unfathomable. Thank you, sir. Not only did you improve my physique, you also allowed me to truly embark on the path of cultivation and have the resources to climb the path of immortality. Dongfang Ying was extremely grateful. She bowed in front of Jiang Tian and spoke sincerely. At this moment, if she was asked to become Jiang Tian's slave or even die for Jiang Tian, she would not hesitate at all. Sir, I knew it. You are much better than those imperial doctors in the palace. Dongfang Li's face was also filled with ecstasy. He wished that he could become sworn brothers with Jiang Tian. If possible, he wished that he could give some of the Royal Chamber of Commerce to Jiang Tian. Your Highness is too polite. Jiang Tian smiled faintly, but he sighed slightly in his heart. That day, the reason why he came forward to point out the princess's illness was to resolve the crisis of the Marquis of Purple Robe and Marquis of Xianxia attacking the Jinyuan Marquis Lin family. He did not participate too deeply in the struggle for imperial power between him and the Crown Prince party. But now it seemed that as long as the news of the little princess being cured by him spread out, Crown Prince Dongfang Ding would probably want to eat his flesh and skin. After all, in the eyes of outsiders, Jiang Tian and Jinyuan Marquis were already close aides in the second prince's camp. Of course Jiang Tian was just lamenting in his heart. He was definitely not afraid of the Dongfang imperial family in the slightest. If the crown prince wanted to provoke him or suppress Xinyun Marquis, then he would dare to ask the sun and moon to change the sky and let the second prince or Lin Yang sit on the throne and take over this beautiful country. Dongfang Moyu also stepped forward and said with a sincere face, "Sir, thank you for everything you have done for the Dongfang imperial family. A few days ago I did not recognize the true dragon and offended you. Please forgive me and don't take it to heart." "Of course not." Jiang Tian smiled leisurely and said, "However, the eldest princess once said that as long as I cure the little princess, you will condescend to be a servant, make the bed for me, massage my legs and shoulders and serve me tea. Do you still remember?" "I remember." Dongfang Moyu's beautiful eyes widened in disbelief. Her full chest rose and fell violently, and then she gritted her teeth and nodded. "The royal family does not joke. You won't go back on your word, right?" Jiang Tian teased. "How dare you? How dare you let the eldest princess be your servant? Don't tell me there is no hierarchy? Don't tell me there is no dignity of the royal family?" Dongfang Li scolded angrily when he heard this. As he scolded, he winked at Jiang Tian and sent a message with his divine sense. "My aunt has a fiery temper. She will attack at the slightest disagreement. Don't provoke her. Brother will give you a few beautiful palace maids. Is that not enough?" Dongfang Ying was also shocked. She did not expect Jiang Tian to be so bold, but said pitifully, "Sir, I know that you have been tired. I will massage your legs and shoulders, make your bed and fold your blanket. I will do it. After all, he is our elder if word gets out." Lin Hanqing, his son, and Fang Guoyu also tried to persuade Jiang Tian. The eldest princess was the chief examiner of the Hidden Dragon Trials. The Hidden Dragon Trials were about to begin. How could they offend her? "Don't try to persuade me." Dongfang Yuma's face was so cold that it could be cut off a layer of frost. She said with a fake smile, "Yes, although the Dongfang imperial family is weak, they still understand the principle that people cannot stand without trust. My spit is a nail. I will keep my word. First, I will massage Mr. Zhang's legs and shoulders. Sir, sit down." Chapter 1878. Seeing that the elder princess had agreed to massage Jiang Tian's legs and shoulders, everyone present was completely dumbfounded. "Ridiculous. It's too ridiculous. Brother Jiang, you're too much." Lin Yang pretended to shout, but for some reason he felt extremely happy in his heart. Usually he was always reprimanded by the elder princess, as if she was reprimanding her grandson. Deep in his heart he also subconsciously wanted to conquer this woman or see her suffer. At this moment, Jiang Tian was doing something that he didn't dare to think about or dare to do. He only felt very happy. I knew that the elder princess would keep her word." Jiang Tian was not polite at all and sat lazily on the recliner. So, in the shocked eyes of everyone, Dongfang Yuma stepped forward and obediently massaged Jiang Tian's legs and shoulders like a little maid. From time to time she smiled and asked softly, "Mr. Jiang, is my strength too light? Harder. Did you not eat breakfast? You're so soft and powerless. I can bear it." Jiang Tian had a faint smile on his face as he closed his eyes. He seemed to be enjoying himself. In fact, Dongfang Yuma was constantly improving her cultivation and deepening her strength to test Jiang Tian's strength. First she used the strength of the foundation building, then she used the gold core primordial qi and the Dharma. In the end she even used the Dharma of the nascent soul realm. This strength could even crush a body made of precious gold, let alone flesh and blood. This little brat is simply a monster. Dongfang Yuma tried to invade Jiang Tian's body with the great way of the divine transformation realm, but Jiang Tian was still unharmed and was even enjoying it. She was so shocked that she couldn't believe it. She originally thought that Jiang Tian was only good at medicine and alchemy. But now it seemed that Jiang Tian's cultivation had also reached the divine transformation realm. The key was that he hid it so well. From the beginning to the end he didn't use the Dharma power and the Dharma power. He used his body to resist her Dharma power. So soft and powerless. I don't like it. Jiang Tian had only slightly revealed his cultivation to give Dongfang Yuma some deterrence. He knew when to stop. The most influential person in the Eastern royal family was the eldest princess. Even Eastern Lu obeyed her every word. Other than the crown prince's faction, no one else dared to provoke the Lin family of the Marquis of Xinyun. He slowly got up and went to play with his daughter. AI, it's all because I didn't teach him well. Mr. Jiang has just come from outside the river and doesn't know the rules of the imperial family. So he acted without restraint and offended the eldest princess. However, all the responsibility lies with little Marquis. If eldest princess wants to punish someone, then punish me. Lin Hanqing stepped forward and bowed. Punishment? Why should he be punished? Could it be that in your eyes this consort doesn't even have this much magnanimity? Dongfang Moyu smiled gently and said, Mr. Zhang's actions are as smooth as flowing water. Wherever he goes it's natural. It's different from those servile cultivators and mortals. It's very interesting. I like it very much. And what do you mean? Dongfang Li's expression suddenly became strange. Why did he feel that the eldest princess seemed to have some affection for Mr. Jiang? However, on second thought, this didn't seem to be impossible. The eldest princess still hadn't married yet. Every time this matter was brought up, his royal father Eastern Lu's face was full of worry. Dongfang Ying's delicate body also trembled slightly. She lowered her head, hiding the emotional fluctuations in her eyes. Dongfang Moyu didn't notice this. Instead, he looked at Lin Hanqing and said earnestly, Marquis Lin, the hidden dragon trials will be held in half a year. Little Marquis is only at the golden core stage. You still need to work hard. Your cultivation has always been at the bottom among the sons of the dukes. However, if you let Mr. Jiang teach you well, there's still a possibility of a comeback. These days, don't get too close to the Nine Mysteries sect. You also know that the past examinations have always been the purple cloud palm and the Eastern Emperor finger. If other techniques are mixed in, it will be considered cheating. Eldest princess is reminding me. Lin Hanqing was shocked. He looked at Lin Yang. This meant that cutting off the relationship between the noble families and the sects was already the mainstream within the imperial family. Thinking of this, Lin Hanqing cupped his hands and smiled. Fellow Daoist Jiang once said that the imperial family's techniques are unfathomable and worth exploring. Aristocratic families of dukes and marquises should place their talents above serving the country and the royal family. According to his opinion, I have already explained clearly to the Nine Mysteries sect by flying sword. Has already withdrawn from the Nine Mysteries sect. Really? This Mr. Jiang is quite knowledgeable. I am very gratified. Dongfang Moyu's eyes suddenly lit up. Then he praised, You are loyal to the country and put the imperial family's interests first. You are truly a model for the dukes. I will definitely report this to my imperial brother. This subject thanks eldest princess. Lin Hanqing bowed. Also, I will remind you of something. This hidden dragon trials may be changed and may use actual combat. The last 20 sons of the dukes will be stripped of their titles and fiefs. Dongfang Moyu said in a low voice. When these words came out, the entire audience was shocked. What will come will come. It is exactly as Mr. Jiang guessed. Lin Hanqing and Lin Yang looked at each other, their hearts filled with fear. Even Dongfang Li's expression changed wildly. She'll combat. And a battle between cultivators is extremely dangerous. Victory and defeat are determined as well as life and death. The dukes are all loyal ministers of the empire, and the sons of the dukes are the future pillars of the empire. If there are casualties, wouldn't it be a great loss? This matter was reported to the emperor by the purple-robed marquis and received the support of many imperial families. In addition, the Duke of Eastern Gorge, the Duke of Northern Frontier, and the Duke of Western Ridge all expressed their support. Although Imperial brother Eastern Lu did not immediately agree due to the importance of this matter, he seemed to be quite moved. Dongfang Moyu sighed. There are many drawbacks to actual combat, of course I know. I also advised him a few times, but he did not listen. In short, Jinyun Marquis, you should be prepared. Only by increasing your cultivation can you be in an invincible position. She understood the thoughts of Eastern Lu and many imperial families, which was that they did not wish for the dukes to gradually grow stronger. The dukes naturally would not threaten the imperial power if they fell into internal strife. If the dukes fought and hated each other all day, there would naturally be no way to form a unified group of dukes. However, this policy was clearly a double-edged sword. On the one hand, after a long period of implementation, it was bound to lead to the merger and consolidation of the dukes. In addition, there was also the possibility of civil strife and turmoil, which could be used by other empires and forces to destroy them as a whole. All right. Send my regards to Mr. Jiang. I have stayed in the Lin family for several months and have not returned to report. I have to bring Dongfang Ying back to the imperial city. Take care, Mark. After saying this, Dongfang Moyu hurriedly bid farewell. Dongfang Li and his sister came to Jiang Tian's courtyard and thanked him solemnly again. Dongfang Ying was a little reluctant and said with tears in her eyes, "Sir, I have to return to the imperial city. After this farewell, I don't know when I will be able to see you again." Not only did Jiang Tian help her reconcile her yin and yang physique, but he also stimulated the potential of the 9-yin physique. Moreover, he taught her the revolving crescent sun will technique. This technique was a saint-level technique and could allow her to step into the void return realm in her lifetime. Its value was immeasurable. "Sister, this is the demon crab cake spicy arowana cloud mud date cake I made. Eat it on the way to relieve your boredom." Jiang Beibei handed a bag of food to Dongfang Ying and said coquettishly, "Thank you, Beibei. You are so considerate." Dongfang Ying half-squatted and hugged Jiang Beibei tightly. She kissed her forehead a few times, her beautiful eyes on the verge of tears. They had been together for a few months and their relationship was very deep. "Sister, don't be sad. Otherwise, your true essence will be unstable and your soul will be in turmoil." Dongfang Li persuaded his sister, then looked at Jiang Tian with a face full of hope. "The hidden dragon trials, the entire Lin family will be going to the imperial city to take the test. I think Sir will be going too." As if nothing happened. "Naturally, I have to go see the prosperity of the imperial city." Jiang Tian smiled. Chapter 1879. Hearing that Jiang Tian might be going to the capital, Dongfang Ying's tears turned into laughter. After the eldest princess and the Dongfang siblings left, Lin Hanqing immediately found Jiang Tian, his expression extremely serious. "Mr. Jiang, it's exactly as you guessed. The hidden dragon trials will use actual combat. Although it's said to stop at a certain point, it's hard to control a battle between cultivators. If someone really dies, there's no need to take responsibility. I suspect that Eastern Lu has been used by some scheming people this time. He originally wanted to use this to weaken the vassals, but in reality he's been alienated instead. If the vassals are in chaos, the people will turn against them. Without the protection of the vassals, how can the royal family be safe?" Jiang Tian sighed. A grain of sand in this era falling on the head of a person or a family was a mountain. The reforms of the hidden dragon trials were merely a few lines of words written by the imperial pen. But behind this, how many vassal families were destroyed and how many commoners were plunged into misery and suffering. So scary. "Dad, why don't we run away? We don't need to be vassals anymore. With Mr. Jiang as the core, we can set up a pill trading company and make a fortune. Isn't he good?" Lin Yang shouted. "Bullshit. How can we hand over the foundation of our ancestors to others? Other people's children dare to draw their swords and fight. Why are you so cowardly?" After all, Lin Hanqing had experienced the slaughter of the battlefield and the struggle of the imperial court. His personality was much more tenacious than his son's. He gritted his teeth and said, "Besides, if you lose your land and title, do you still want to marry Miss Fang?" Nan and Fang Jinlong place great importance on these things. Uncle Fang is such a stubborn old man. He's a stickler for ancient traditions. Regarding this, Lin Yang beat his chest and stamped his feet, but there was nothing he could do. "Yes, even if you set up a trading company, you can't not have your land as a foundation. Otherwise it's like a tree without roots, water without a source." Jiang Tian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. For example, the ancient medicine hall has so-called concessions in various countries. They occupy famous mountains, great rivers, spirit veins, spirit springs and spirit stone mines to provide cultivation resources. Isn't it still a country within a country within a country? He saw this very clearly. He smiled and said, "You think that by setting up a trading company and breaking away from the struggles of the imperial court, you can be free and unfettered? Wrong. Although the trading companies mainly focus on commercial competition, when conflicts are truly irreconcilable and it's a matter of life and death, it's still a battle of force." Lin Yang was speechless. "Yes, Lin Yang, you have no way out. In the face of a strong enemy, you can only draw your sword and fight. With Mr. Jiang guiding you in your cultivation, what are you afraid of? Mr. Jiang is an existence that can recreate his Jindan in just a few months." Lin Hanqing encouraged. "Good. I understand now. In this world, strength is everything." A deep look appeared on Lin Yang's face. He clenched his fist and said, "Who knows how many people are eyeing our dukedom and fief? If I didn't have the vassal order or my fief, with my cultivation, what qualifications would I have to be arrogant? The reason why I was able to be like this before was because I had a good father and reincarnated well. But without strength, the days of being a dandy will not last long." He sighed deeply and said, "Mr. Zhang's experience has already made me understand. Even if I was a young duke before, no matter where I went, by Zhanyun Li Ludao Yangxian and the other dared to humiliate and provoke me. And although Mr. Jiang is only a guest of our family, when he showed his strength, Yangxian trembled in fear and Bai Zhanyun knelt down and begged. This is the reason for strength that I know. I've always been looked down upon, even you are also looked down upon. My foundation is poor, my comprehension is worse, and my perseverance is even worse. My cultivation was all accumulated bit by you using medicinal pills. But from today onwards I am willing to follow Mr. Jiang and cultivate again to become." Lin Yangyi was always flirty and never serious, but this time it was rare for him to be serious and emotional. Hearing this, Lin Hanqing's eyes became hot and almost teared up. "Child, you finally understand father's painstaking efforts." Suddenly Lin Yang clenched his fists, his tiger-like eyes filled with tears. He looked up to the sky and roared, "Guyu, I will become your pride and let Uncle Fong see me in a new light. I will marry you grandly." Lin Hanqing suddenly became muddle-headed. How could this child's thoughts be so jumpy? After all this time it wasn't for him but for a woman. Lin Hanqing coughed softly and looked at Jiang Tian. "Mr. Jiang, how do you plan to improve Lin Yang's cultivation?" "Change the Eastern Purple Qi technique," Jiang Tian said leisurely. "What? Change the technique?" Lin Hanqing and his son were shocked. The Eastern Purple Qi technique and the immortal martial skills Purple Cloud Palm and Eastern Emperor Finger had existed for thousands of years. After being adjusted by countless experts of the imperial family, it was called a god-level technique and could be said to be perfect. How could it be changed just like that? Besides, Jiang Tian had only seen Fong Guoyu and Lin Dai practice this technique a few times and only glimpsed bits and pieces. He hadn't studied it in depth, so how could he change it? Yes. Although this technique has a long history, it is still too primitive and simple. There are many shortcomings. Especially in the process of opening the dantian and acupoints, condensing the golden core and transforming the dantian into a spirit embryo, there are many mistakes and useless steps. I have studied it for many days and improved it. Jiang Tian said leisurely and moved his divine sense. In the minds of Lin Hanqing and Lin Yang, an improved version of the Eastern Purple Qi technique immediately appeared. "Dad, what is this technique like? It seems to follow the original train of thought, but it is also very different." Lin Yang probed the technique with his divine sense. After about half an hour he suddenly asked in confusion. "Teacher's understanding of this technique is really profound. This is simply a qualitative change." Lin Hanqing couldn't come back to his senses for a long time. After his son asked, he came back to his senses and instantly quivered, shouting excitedly. The Eastern Purple Qi technique was a technique bestowed by the imperial family to the dukes to practice. It was a derivative of the imperial family's technique, the Eastern Emperor technique, and was also a basic technique. He had started practicing this technique a few hundred years ago and was already very familiar with it. But when he saw Jiang Tian's improved version, he immediately felt that his understanding of this mental cultivation method, as well as that of the previous generations of the royal family and dukes, was very shallow. Under Jiang Tian's interpretation, this shallow entry-level cultivation method actually became the general outline of the entry-level cultivation method, opening up a path to the heavens. Such profound meaning, such comprehension, this was simply inconceivable. Even the imperial family's ancestors might not have reached such a profound level. Moreover, Jiang Tian's profound meaning was not mechanically copied. This technique's profound meaning came from Jiang Tian's mouth, as if he was already the founder of this technique. He had already turned something rotten into something magical, correcting all the flaws in the technique and moves, even surpassing the imperial family's Eastern Emperor technique. This was simply a miracle, inconceivable. But they didn't know that Jiang Tian, who had experienced countless ups and downs, had a set of insights that others couldn't compare with in terms of teaching and dispelling doubts. From Jiang Tian's point of view, the most important thing for a cultivator at the beginning of cultivation was not to have amazing supreme techniques, but to have a correct understanding of Dao and the correct understanding of the fundamental Dao. If one went astray in terms of Dao and cultivation at the beginning of cultivation, it would be difficult to change for the rest of one's life. This would directly affect the concept of cultivation. A cultivator's cultivation usually started from the chi of heaven and earth, to the laws, to the Dao step by step. It was the same for the cultivation of a certain technique. Foundation establishment controlled the true yuan, nascent soul controlled the laws, soul formation touched the Dao. Cultivators, from low to high, controlled different levels of power. As for the specific improvement of a technique, it depended on the level of the cultivator at the highest level. Throughout history, the improvement of the East Rising Purple Chi technique had been carried out by dozens of soul formation cultivators and a few void return saints. Their level determined the final level and degree of perfection of this technique. However, Jiang Tian had reached the peak of Hongmeng in his previous life. Although his cultivation base was only at the nascent soul stage, his experience and knowledge were still there. Of course, he could clearly see the crudeness of this technique at a glance. It was extremely easy to improve it. Chapter 1880. It's not that exaggerated. Jiang Tian didn't take Lin Hanqing's praise to heart. He chuckled and waved his hand. In fact, when this cultivation technique was cultivated to the extreme, it still stopped at the soul formation realm. The level didn't increase, but the cultivation speed became faster. I will also cultivate with you, sir. Please teach me. Lin Hanqing originally only wanted his son to cultivate with Jiang Tian, but seeing how wonderful this cultivation technique was, even he was tempted. Maybe he could break through the barrier as soon as possible and directly enter the soul formation realm from the half-step soul formation realm. Thinking of this, he was also excited. He bowed deeply, cupped his fists and pleaded. We are just verifying each other. Marquis, you don't have to be so polite. Jiang Tian said calmly. Suddenly, Lin Hanqing thought of a problem and said coldly with an angry expression, Where did Dyer go? These days she always goes out for half a month and I don't see her. She said that she went out to hunt demons, but in fact I didn't see any progress or gains. Lin Yang, immediately order Zhang Miyun to find her. Punish him severely. Forget it. Lin Dai's cultivation is not bad. I will focus on guiding the two of you. Jiang Tian hurriedly stopped him. He didn't like this girl in the first place, so there was no need to invite her to his side and make things difficult for himself. Lin Hanqing sighed gloomily. Next, Jiang Tian began to guide Lin Yang's cultivation. Under Jiang Tian's guidance, Lin Yang's confusion that had been troubling him was easily solved, and he was enlightened. His cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds. His physical body, vitality, and comprehension of the laws of the Great Tao were all improving rapidly. Golden Core Level 1, Level 2, Level 3. He broke through a level almost every few days and it was still skyrocketing as if there was no end. But he didn't expect that the first to break through was Lin Hanqing. 3 months later, Lin Hanqing's spirit embryo finally transformed into a divine treasure, and his nascent soul grew into a god. The laws of the universe surrounded him and the great Tao resonated. His aura soared into the sky like a giant dragon, and his chi soared into the sky, shaking 1,000 miles. Sir, you're like my second parent. Your kindness is like giving me a new lease on life. Lin Hanqing cried tears of joy and directly kowtowed to Jiang Tian, calling him his benefactor. That was true. He had been stuck at the bottleneck between the half-step to the semi-god realm for decades. Even with the guidance of the Lin family's forefather, he still had a long way to go before he could break through this bottleneck. However, practicing Jiang Tian's modified version of the East Rising Purple Chi was like taking a shortcut. It only took him 3 months to break through the shackles. Marquis, please rise. This is inseparable from your hundreds of years of diligent cultivation. In fact, you've already accumulated enough. You're just missing that layer of comprehension. I dare not claim credit for myself. Jiang Tian smiled and reached out with both hands to help him up. He felt very gratified. After all, in his previous life, Lin Hanqing had taken good care of him and even treated him like his own. But in the end, because Jiang Tian had offended Yan Nanxian, his family was destroyed and his family was destroyed. This made Jiang Tian regret it for the rest of his life. Now doing this for the Lin family was his right and he finally felt a little comforted. After Lin Hanqing broke through, he was even more convinced and respected Jiang Tian's cultivation method. Naturally, he was looking forward to Lin Yang's breakthrough. Inside the imperial palace. The emperor of the Eastern Empire, Eastern Lu, had a pale face and a weak temperament. He hugged his daughter, Eastern Ing, and said with a gratified smile, "I didn't expect that the Jinyun Marquis residence would have such an extraordinary person. He cured my beloved daughter's strange illness and even helped her improve her cultivation. How rare." At the bottom of the steps, eldest Princess Dongfang Moyu stood upright and said with a smile, "Brother, that's why I said that there are quite a few extraordinary people among the commoners and even among the itinerant cultivators outside the river. And now that the cultivation resources are occupied by the aristocratic families, it's extremely disadvantageous for the development of the empire." I completely understand what you mean. The county system is indeed better than the feudal system. But do you remember what happened to Dongfang Jie? The vassals have already become too powerful. It's very difficult for us to weaken them. We can only let them exhaust themselves. Eastern Lu's temperament was gloomy as he sighed. The hidden dragon trials is an opportunity. His eyes suddenly flashed with a cold light as if he had already made up his mind. But the vassals' conflicts will intensify and they will kill each other. The empire will fall into complete chaos. How many commoners will die? How many loyal officials will be obliterated? A vassal like the Jinyun Marquis has always been loyal to the imperial family. If he dies in the chaos of war, how can we bear it? Dongfang Moyu said in a low voice. Someone has to be sacrificed. Eastern Lu waved his hand to dismiss Dongfang Ing and sighed. Otherwise, do you have a better idea? The imperial family should take the moral high ground, protect the imperial power and take the initiative to attack. Dongfang Moyu said with emotion. For example, the Marquis of Purple Robe and the Duke of Northern Frontier have never paid tribute. But every year they ask the imperial family for money for irrigation, military expenses and disaster relief. Not only are the imperial family dissatisfied, many of the vassals are also dissatisfied. We should unite with the majority of the vassals and clear out the annual tribute they owe. What if they don't pay? Then declare war. Dongfang Moyu's expression was firm. Absolutely not. The Duke of the Northern Frontier and the Marquis of Purple Robe are too arrogant. We can't beat them. Eastern Lu jumped in fright and waved his hand. This matter is too radical. We need to think about it at length. Dongfang Moyu sighed softly and frowned. Sometimes his brother was really too cowardly. Eastern Lu hurriedly changed the topic. Of course, I don't want these loyal officials like the Jinyuan Marquis to suffer in the hidden dragon trials. Speaking of which, how is Lin Yang's cultivation? Has he advanced? He won't be last in the hidden dragon trials, right? Lin Yang is only at the first level of the Golden Core realm. Among the 180 vassal descendants, he is undoubtedly at the bottom. However, if Mr. Jiang can help him advance, there may be a glimmer of hope. Dongfang Moyu was also deeply worried about this and did not have full confidence. After all, the little girl Dongfang Ying's breakthrough was based on a foundation. She was already at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm, and Jiang Tian had used the Heong pill to improve her physique. But Lin Yang had just formed his core. Strictly speaking, he had not even reached the first level of the Golden Core realm. This was like building a tall building from the ground. It was too difficult. If this child had been defeated before, it would have been pretty good to be an idle official in the capital. He did not wield power and only wanted riches and honor. He was also free and unfettered. But now he is about to die an unnatural death. Eastern Lu's expression was sorrowful. He sighed. However, changing the hidden dragon trials into actual combat is beneficial to the imperial family. If we don't let those vassals grind down the Duke of the Northern Frontier and the Marquis of Purple Robe, they will have the strength to challenge the imperial family after 100 years. A trace of coldness appeared on his face. He said in a low voice. If Lin Yang dies this time, immediately persuade Lin Hanqing to use troops against the Marquis of Purple Robe and encourage Count Nanhe to join in. Defeat the Marquis of Purple Robe for me. In the end, the territories of the Marquis of Jinyuan and the Marquis of Purple Robe will belong to the imperial family. The Duke of the Northern Frontier, the Duke of the Eastern Gorge and the other powerful dukes will not dare to move. Dongfang Moyu was non-committal. She felt that her imperial brother's method of using the hidden dragon trials to reform and weaken the vassals was too unconventional and risky. Things did not seem to be that simple. Suddenly, Dongfang Moyu said, "Speaking of the hidden dragon trials, little sister received an invitation today. It came from the Marquis of Purple Robe estate. Yes, it said that there will be a banquet at the Marquis of Purple Robe estate in 3 days and little sister is invited to attend. It is said that an incredible joyous event happened at the Marquis of Purple Robe estate. Joyous event. Eastern Lu's expression was even more complicated. As the monarch of a country, his control over the information of his vassals should be impeccable. But what joyous event happened at the Marquis of Purple Robe estate? Eastern Lu really did not know. Of course, it was impossible for the Marquis of Purple Robe to invite the monarch to attend a banquet. Firstly, the vassals did not have that much face. Secondly, the laws of the ancestors did not allow this. He did not say it clearly in the invitation. He only said that it was related to his beloved son Xianxia. Could it be that his son Xianxia had a breakthrough in his cultivation? If it was such a small matter, Eastern Lu would not take it to heart. He waved his hand. Since you have been invited, you should go. This Marquis of Purple Robe. Dong Feng Moyu's expression was also somewhat complicated. He was also clear about his imperial brother's fear of the Marquis of Purple Robe. Although he was below the 4 great dukes, his position was high and he held great power. He had a powerful army and was almost at the point where his might could shake the emperor. Thinking of this, Eastern Lu's heart burned with anxiety. He picked up the imperial brush and read a few lines on the memorial. He said coldly, "Announce it to the entire nation. From this year onwards, I have agreed to the Marquis of Purple Robe's suggestion. The hidden dragon trials will be conducted in the form of actual combat to encourage the cultivation of the vassals." Chapter 1881. Red Maple City Jinyuanho Residence. After 4 months of hard work, Lin Yang soared all the way to the peak of the Jindan stage, half a step away from the Yuaning stage. On this day, Lin Yang finally came out of seclusion. Cultivation cannot only be done in seclusion. It also requires actual combat and experience to develop battle awareness, stimulate potential and accumulate battle experience. Jiang Tian planned to bring him out of the city to hunt demon beasts after he came out of seclusion. Son, you finally came out of seclusion. Seeing his son break through so quickly, Lin Hanqing was very happy. The haze on his forehead was also cleverly hidden. Yes, practicing Mr. Zhang's improved cultivation method is like having the help of the gods. Everything is naturally formed. In the hidden dragon trials, that's nothing. Lin Yang felt very strange. His previous cultivation was like rowing a boat against the current. Every time he was tired and panting, but the progress was slow. But this time it was like going with the flow, incomparably carefree, progressing at lightning speed. That's good, that's good. It's all thanks to Mr. Jiang. Lin Hanqing was full of praise. Right, father, what were you looking at just now? It seemed to be an invitation from someone. I saw that you seemed to have a lot on your mind. Lin Yang suddenly asked. This, son, you didn't care much about family matters before. You don't have to worry about these things. Lin Hanqing laughed, trying to change the topic. Father, you protect me, but there has to be a limit, right? Aren't you afraid that I'll be spoiled into a good-for-nothing? Hehe, son, look at what you're saying. A father protecting his son, isn't that right and proper? Actually, it's nothing much, just that the Purple Marquis sent an invitation, saying that he wants the Southern Marquis to attend a banquet to celebrate a joyous event that happened in his Purple Marquis residence. Purple Marquis residence? They don't have good intentions. I heard that the Purple Marquis young master Xianxia broke through to the Yuanying stage. The Purple Marquis is holding a banquet, inviting all the Southern Marquis to celebrate. But you don't have to worry about this. Father naturally has a way to deal with it, just focus on cultivation. Lin Hanqing smiled. Wrong. Brother Jiang said that cultivation and combat strength are 2 different things. If you really want to become an expert, you have to gain experience. Lin Yang confidently said, originally we planned to go outside the city to find some demon beasts to hunt, but now it seems that we will use Purple Marquis as practice. Afraid to move forward? Avoiding provocation? This was the behavior of the weak. In this life I want to be strong. Eastern Lu has already decided that the hidden dragon trials will be conducted through actual combat. I'm worried that Xianxia might challenge Lin Yang at this banquet. Do you want to avoid him or do you want to accept his challenge? Please make your decision. Lin Hanqing had mixed feelings as he looked at Jiang Tian. Her son had grown up and knew how to share her burdens. Of course she was happy. However, this trip to Purple Marquis was fraught with grim possibilities. Let's go take a look. Zhang Tian said leisurely, don't worry. Even if Lin Yang's cultivation is not as good as him, his combat power must surpass him. Besides, as long as I am present, no one can hurt Lin Yang. 3 days later, Zhang Tian, Lin Yang and Lin Hanqing rode on a dragon horse carriage, passing through Xinji Forest and arriving at Purple Marquis territory, Jianghan City. Jianghan City was 3 times larger than Maple City. Its location was superior, the area was prosperous, and the buildings were majestic. Maple City could not compare to it. Purple Marquis occupied more than half of Xinji Forest and was very rich in resources. The dozen or so small cities in the Red Rock Basin were also vassals of Jianghan City. In terms of fief and family power, he was second only to Nan Hebo Fong Jinlong. Since they were going to attend the banquet, Lin Hanqing also wanted to prepare a congratulatory gift, but was rejected by Zhang Tian. Since there would be a battle sooner or later, why waste money? Just bring something if you want it or not. One must know that Purple Marquis was very ambitious. Previously, because Lin Dai are injured, the princess, he attacked Xinyuan Marquis and even wanted to deprive Xinyuan Marquis of the Lin family of their fief. Purple Marquis was ranked in the 20s among the 108 Marquis of the Empire and could be considered a tyrant. However, when he arrived at Jianghan City, no one came to greet him. It could be said that Purple Marquis was extremely arrogant. Fortunately, Xinyuan Marquis Lin Hanqing was a kind person and had made many connections among the Marquis. These familiar colleagues had arrived first. When they heard that Purple Marquis had arrived, they went out to greet him and accompany him, so that he would not lose too much face. Ah, Brother Lin, I have been waiting for you for a long time. Finally you are here. When they arrived at the Marquis's residence, Purple Marquis finally went out to greet them. His steps were majestic and domineering. He was worthy of being a peerless expert second only to the 4 great dukes. Behind him there was a young man dressed in luxurious clothes. He was vigorous and had a proud look in his eyes. His aura was strong and unrestrained. He was majestic and had the style of his father. Looking at his cultivation, he was already at the 2nd level of the nascent soul stage. This was his beloved son Zi Yunxiao. You flatter me, you flatter me. Yunxiao, this child's cultivation is so fast, it is really worthy of celebration. Seeing this scene, Lin Hanqing was also secretly shocked as he repeatedly congratulated Yi Qingyu. He originally thought that Purple Marquis held a banquet to celebrate and invited all the Marquis because Zi Yunxiao had broken through to the nascent soul stage. He did not expect that this child had already stepped into the 2nd level of the nascent soul stage. This was suppressing his son. How could his cultivation be so fast? Could it be that he had a famous teacher to guide him? Marquis Lin, we meet again. I heard that your residence was attacked a few months ago. Are you okay? Who did you offend? I heard that there was a divine transformation stage expert. The Marquis of Xianxia and Li Ludao also followed behind Purple Marquis. When they saw Zhang Tian, their faces were filled with deep resentment. However, they did not act on the spot. Instead, they laughed gloatingly. These words were clearly mocking Zhang Tian for offending Bai Zhanyun, causing the Duke of Northern Frontier's assassins to take action. This caused the Lin family to suffer a great loss. This kid is the root of the Lin family's disaster. No matter. There are some losses, but it will not harm the foundation. As for the mastermind behind the assassins, we have not found out. However, many of the assassins were killed. I think the mastermind will not dare to play any tricks. Lin Hanqing forced a smile and said a few polite words. He felt a little uneasy. However, when he thought about how he had Zhang Tian with him, he gradually calmed down. Come, the banquet is ready. Brother Lin, you are today's guest. You must accompany me to the seat of honor. Purple Marquis was brimming with enthusiasm. However, Lin Hanqing always felt that this guy was up to no good. The seat of honor was not so easy to sit in. In this kind of noble family, there was an order of seniority. The most important thing was the seating arrangement. Although Xinyuan Ho's status was not bad, it was not high enough for him to sit in the seat of honor. How can that be? Brother Purple Marquis, you do your thing. I'll just sit with these old brothers. Xinyuan Ho subconsciously wanted to stay away from him. The guest should follow the host's wishes. Besides, I have something important to discuss with you today. Sitting together makes it easier to talk. Purple Marquis insisted again and again, as if you don't agree, I won't let you go. Since Purple Marquis is so generous. Why delay it? Don't ruin Purple Marquis's mood. Zhang Tian said with a smile. Ah. I heard that Princess Dongfang has returned to the imperial city. How is her condition? She can't be cured. Seeing Jiang Tian speak, Purple Marquis glanced at him and mocked him. The news of the little princess's recovery was kept a secret by the imperial family. Therefore Purple Marquis did not know the news. In his opinion, it was impossible for Jiang Tian to cure the princess in a short time. The imperial medical hall was not for decoration. Even those national divine doctors could not cure her. You, a rogue cultivator from outside the river, can do it? What a joke. If I can't cure her, will the second prince let me go? Jiang Tian laughed. Sir is still very confident. I hope Sir is still so confident. Purple Marquis did not believe him at all, but he was too lazy to argue with Jiang Tian. He said with a smile, however, this is the seat of a marquis. You can only sit in the guest seat for now. Go over there and have fun. This marquis will not greet you one by one. Although his words were nice, he was clearly reminding Jiang Tian to pay attention to his status as a servant. A mere guest of the Lin family was not qualified to sit with him, the Purple Marquis. Chapter 1882. Ziyun Xiao, Li Ludao and Marquis Xianxia all looked at Jiang Tian mockingly. Ah, good. Please help yourself, Marquis. Jiang Tian didn't care about Marquis Xianxia's rudeness and ignored their mocking gazes. He casually cupped his hands and went to find a seat with Lin Yang. The two arrived at the seats for the heirs and guests. They found a suitable seat and were about to sit down. Suddenly, a figure flashed across the seat. It was Li Ludao who took the first step and sat down. This seat is not for trash and servants. Li Ludao was wearing a long robe. His red nose was very conspicuous and his sharp mouth showed a hint of mockery. Not only did he sit down boldly, but he also stretched one leg over another seat, occupying the other two chairs. Back then, the Haotian sect was tricked by Jiang Tian and brazenly injured his Dantian. His father, the Marquis of Xianxia, was bullied by Jiang Tian in the Lin family. He slapped himself in the face until his nose was bruised and his face was swollen. So much so that the Li family of the Marquis of Xianxia became the laughingstock of the empire. At this moment he took the opportunity to humiliate Jiang Tian and Lin Yang in front of everyone. Monkey Li, you called me trash. May I ask what kind of material you are? Your Dantian must have been smashed to pieces. Lin Yang directly retorted. Huh. The fragrant medicine house gave me medicine to repair my Dantian. After half a year of hard work, I have returned to the peak and my cultivation is at the peak of the Golden Core realm. Sorry, this seat is only for cultivators at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm and above. You seem to be at the first level of the Golden Core realm. Oh, you just formed your core. Li Ludao was proud of himself. Then he pointed at a lonely table in the corner and said with a smile, that's right. That's for core formation and foundation establishment cultivators. These trash and servants sit there. You go. As soon as he said this, there was a burst of laughter. Everyone's face was full of mockery as if they were watching a monkey show. Clearly, this was a scene that had been planned long ago, waiting for Jiang Tian and the others to embarrass themselves. Lin Yang flew into a rage. Grandson, you're asking for a beating? Li Ludao was calm and unruffled. He smiled faintly. Trash Lin, you're just a mere core formation cultivator. When did you have the confidence to beat a peak golden core cultivator? While speaking, Li Ludao suddenly stood up. His Dantian was roaring, his Jin Dan was trembling, and a vast amount of primordial qi was surging. The Dharma form of perfection like water appeared behind him, and a wave of threatening qi was pressing towards him. If you want to be tortured, I'll fulfill your wish. The atmosphere was tense, as if a fight was about to break out at the slightest disagreement. Just as everyone was waiting to see Li Ludao tyrannize Lin Yang, suddenly, a loud and clear voice announced, Eldest Princess Dongfang Moyu and Little Princess Dongfang Ying have arrived at the Purple Marquis Mansion. Then the sound of drums and horns could be heard. The princess is. Let's go welcome. At this moment Lin Hanqing, the Marquis of Xianxia and the other marquises could no longer sit still. They all stood up with nervous and excited expressions. Royal Princess Dongfang Moyu was a divine transformation cultivator. She was the goddess of war of the royal family and was highly valued by Dongfang Lu. More importantly, she was the chief examiner of the Hidden Dragon trials. She was the one who decided their future. Who dared to offend her? The princess is here personally. Her presence brings light to the small marquis mansion. Even the purple marquis, even if he was harboring evil intentions, had to show enough respect and face on the surface. He stood up and with a face full of smiles he led everyone out of the door. After all, it was not the time for the final battle. Many disciples also left their seats. According to the order of seniority, they stood respectfully on both sides of the road. They were as silent as cicadas in winter. The princess was very strict with the disciples of the noble families. Many disciples who broke the law were punished by her and even stripped of their cultivation. Jiang Tian took the opportunity to sit down and drink by himself. Very quickly, Dongfang Mou brought Dongfang Ying and walked in gracefully, smiling as they greeted everyone. At this moment, Li Ludao suddenly stepped forward and pointed at Jiang Tian. He complained, "Princess Royal, please look. This person is a guest of the Marquis of Xinyuan's mansion. But the Princess Royal is here and he's still sitting and drinking. This is disrespectful to the royal family." Everyone immediately looked at Jiang Tian. They saw Jiang Tian drinking wine and playing with the communication jade tablet. "Sir, you're still playing with the communication jade tablet? Is there something urgent? The Princess Royal is here. Give her some face. Don't embarrass her." Lin Yang couldn't help but remind him. The third hall master of the ancient medicine hall's icebound city branch, Old Xing, said that the first batch of sky-mending pills has been refined and is ready to be released into the market. He came to tell me the good news, but there was no one in Maple City. I told him to come here. Jiang Tian sat calmly as if he didn't care about the Princess Royal at all. This kid is unlucky. When the Marquis of Xianxia saw this, he immediately laughed sinisterly and gloated. "Jiang, this time you're going to suffer. This is the Princess Royal. She's here, but you're still sitting there and not greeting her." Many nobles looked at Jiang Tian. Some looked at him with sympathy, some gloated, and some looked anxious. Hey, this little bastard. He's not giving me face again." When Dongfang Moyu saw Jiang Tian, her pretty face immediately revealed a strange expression. For some reason she longed to see Jiang Tian, but was also worried about seeing Jiang Tian. Dongfang Ying, on the other hand, ran to Jiang Tian with a face full of joy. She bowed respectfully and shouted, "Dongfang Ying greets Mr. Jiang. Greetings to Mr. Jiang. You little girl, why are you not staying in the palace and getting involved in such a messy occasion? Have you put your cultivation on hold?" When these words came out, the entire audience was struck by lightning. This was the princess of the current dynasty. And Jiang Tian was just a guest of the Xinyuan Marquis residence. His status was low, but he actually used such a tone to speak to the king's most beloved princess. It was as if he was teaching his own junior a lesson. Moreover, in front of the host of the banquet, saying that this was a messy occasion, was this slapping the Marquis of Purple Robe's face? Did this guest of the Lin family have a grudge with Xinyuan Marquis in his previous life and came to take revenge in this life? For a moment the atmosphere at the scene became a little strange. How would I dare to neglect it? The little girl's smile was incomparably sweet and cute. She said in a coquettish voice, "After Mr. Jiang recuperated my physique, I returned to the palace and diligently cultivated according to the revolving crescent sun technique that Mr. Jiang taught me. I didn't dare to neglect it in the slightest. My cultivation has already reached the half-step nascent soul stage. Aunt thought that I should go out of the palace to gain experience, so she brought me out. On the way I even killed 2 Oris core stage demon beasts. These are the demon cores I obtained." She took out 2 demon cores like she was presenting treasures. Her eyes were filled with anticipation, like a child who got full marks and was waiting for praise from her elders. "This is the demon core of the blazing peacock, and this is by Ans. Not bad." Jiang Tian smiled and nodded, patting the little girl's head. "But they were all Oris core stage demon beast. Actually, I wanted to kill a few more nascent soul stage demon beast. But Aunt didn't let me take the risk." The little girl's beautiful eyes curved into a beautiful crescent moon shape, enjoying Jiang Tian's praise. She was like a kitten being stroked by its owner, softly saying, "Clang, clang, clang." The sound of wine cups falling to the ground could be heard. There were at least 3 or 4 people at the scene. Hearing this, they couldn't hold the wine cups in their hands steadily. Shocked by the conversation between the two, even the wine cups fell to the ground. Chapter 1883. Damn, it seems that not only did he cure the princess, but he also taught her some cultivation technique to improve her cultivation? It's too terrifying. This time, Xinyanho has gained a firm foothold. What is the background of this person? His medicinal skills are so heaven-defying. Everyone was shocked. This grandson is so lucky to be valued by the royal family. I'm afraid that even Lin Hanqing, this fool, is valued by the royal family. However, Marquis Purple Robe's expression became a little ugly. His plan would not be obstructed by Dongfang Moyu, right? Even if you cured the little princess's strange illness, you can't be disrespectful to the eldest princess. There are many imperial doctors who have cured the strange illness of the royal family. Which one doesn't kowtow to the eldest princess when they see her? You are still so disrespectful to the eldest princess. Isn't that a heinous crime? Suddenly, Marquis Xianxia shouted with righteous indignation. The eldest princess was dignified and valued the dignity of the royal family the most. Whoever dared to offend her would be severely punished. Eldest princess, do you really want me to kowtow to you? Jiang Tian sipped his wine cup and looked at the eldest princess frivolously. Although I don't want you to kowtow to me, you have to give me some face. The eldest princess secretly criticized but said with a faint smile, All right, Marquis Xianxia, today is a joyous day for the Purple Robe Marquis, let's not cause any more trouble. Massage my legs and shoulders. Jiang Tian suddenly said inexplicably. This little bastard, you're forcing me to deal with Marquis Xianxia. The eldest princess glared at Jiang Tian, but Jiang Tian ignored her. The eldest princess couldn't help but feel depressed. However, she had to deal with him. If she didn't, Jiang Tian would reveal the bet and force her to massage his legs and shoulders in public. Then she would really be embarrassed. Marquis Xianxia pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted angrily, Bastard, what do you mean? Who do you want to massage your legs and shoulders? Believe it or not, I'll beat you up. His outburst was exactly what the eldest princess wanted, giving her a reason to flare up. The grand princess slapped the Marquis of Xianxia's face and angrily shouted, Back off. Mr. Jiang is a member of the Imperial Medical Hall, a member of the royal family. How can you berate and threaten him? Are you trying to disrespect the royal family? He became an imperial physician? The Marquis of Xianxia could not believe it and jumped in fright. If Jiang Tian had only cured the little princess, there would be nothing to be afraid of. With his status, he was just a guest of the Lin family. However, now that he had become an imperial physician, he could not offend him. The Marquis of Xianxia hurriedly prostrated himself on the ground. This old servant dares not. This old servant wouldn't dare. The eldest princess ignored him and entered the banquet under the escort of many vassals. However, the little princess sat down beside Jiang Tian and asked all sorts of questions. Her beautiful eyes were bright and lively and she was full of smiles. But for some unknown reason, when she saw this scene, the eldest princess felt uncomfortable in her heart. She coldly reprimanded, come over here and sit by your aunt. There is a difference between the monarch and his subjects, and there is an order of seniority. What are you doing sitting there? Do you still want the dignity of the royal family? Mr. Jiang, I made some demon crab cakes again. Please try it, I'm going. The little princess seemed to have more vitality than before. She naughtily stuck out her tongue, left a bag of cakes and quickly left. You old man, you don't have the slightest ability, but you have repeatedly provoked me. You have been slapped repeatedly but you still don't remember. You deserve it. Jiang Tian ate the cakes made by the little princess, glanced at the Marquis of Xianxia and said with a smile. He is old, he has dementia, his memory is not very good, we have to forgive him. Lin Yang echoed and played the role of a supporting actor. The Marquis of Xianxia was depressed to the extreme. He was so anxious that he vomited blood again. You are vomiting blood everywhere, you are not hygienic. What if you scare the children? Jiang Tian ridiculed. What Mr. Jiang said is very reasonable. Even if you can't scare the children, it's not good to scare the flowers and plants. It's unforgivable. Lin Yang said. The Marquis of Xianxia and Li Ludao were so angry that they wanted to cry. Li Ludao sneered, Lin Yang, don't be so proud. I will get back at you sooner or later. However, because of this, many of the noble disciples no longer dared to provoke Jiang Tian, and they all retreated. For a moment, the seats around Jiang Tian were empty. Life is as lonely as the snow. No one dares to provoke us, so we can trample on them. Lin Yang was extremely proud, but his face was very bored and he was speechless. The eldest princess chatted with everyone for a while, and suddenly, Another distinguished guest arrived. It was the house master of the fragrant medicine house, which caused an uproar. Even the eldest princess smiled and greeted him. The house master Wang of the fragrant medicine house was only below the eldest princess in terms of seating, but above the Marquis of Purple Robe. The fragrant medicine house was an elixir sect that was second only to the ancient medicine hall. In the entire Saint Origin world, the fragrant medicine house's strength was only below the 5 sacred grounds and the 10 divine sects, and it was ranked in the top 20. It was also a business, and its wealth was comparable to that of a country. It had more than 10 divine transformation realm cultivators, and it was terrifying and powerful. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 rounds of dishes, Purple Robe pulled Lin Hanqing and said with a smile, "Brother, I have a presumptuous request and I hope you can give me some face. I want to rent your herb garden in Xianxia Forest's Tiger Head Ridge. 10 million high-grade crystal stones a year. What do you think?" "Fuck your mother, why don't you just rob?" Lin Yang's face suddenly changed. Seeing Jiang Tian's puzzled face, he quickly went to Jiang Tian's ear and explained. 30 years ago, Zhenyuan Ho found a piece of land with a half-spiritual vein in Xianxia Forest. Therefore, the Zhenyuan Ho residents had always had a big business deal with the Fragrant Medicine House, which was to help the Fragrant Medicine House cultivate spiritual herbs. However, in the past few years, Purple Robe Marquis had found Zhenyuan Ho several times, and proposed to rent the herb garden with a half-spiritual vein. It was not impossible for marquises to rent land. However, Purple Robe Marquis's price was too low. Zhenyuan Ho's annual income from the herb garden was more than 100 million high-grade crystal stones. And Purple Robe Marquis was only willing to pay 10 million high-grade crystal stones as rent. Wasn't this daylight robbery? It was simply daylight robbery, unscrupulous and unrestrained. Hearing this, Lin Hanqing was so angry that his hands were trembling. After hesitating for a moment, he refused. "The territory of the Marquis of Zhenyuan's Lin family is less than a third of yours. Furthermore, it is a remote and desolate place with no source of income. The entire household's expenses, the hundreds of people's daily necessities, as well as the guards, city guards and patrolling guards' commissions and salaries, mostly rely on the income of this herb garden. Marquis's proposal is equivalent to cutting off one of my main sources of income. Once I lose it, I can only drink the northwest wind. I really can't comply." It has to be said that with Lin Hanqing's temper, it was not easy for him to speak in such a humble manner. If it were another occasion, Lin Hanqing would have already slammed the table, flicked his sleeves and left. "Brother, you are making it difficult for me." Purple Robe Marquis's tone became serious. Marquis Lin, you don't have to do anything and you can receive 10 million high-grade crystal stones every year. This is a business without any cost, why do you refuse?" Another Marquis pretended to persuade. "That's right. This business of sitting on the ground and collecting money, if it were me, I wouldn't even frown. The Purple Marquis is the first Marquis, the 5th Marquis among the Marquises. To be able to become brothers with you is a great opportunity that many people can't even dream of. But you don't know how to cherish it?" Another Marquis echoed. "Marquis Lin, we Marquis are of the same breath and branch, there is no need to be so calculative." Li Ludao said hypocritically. "Isn't that right? Your awareness is too low. Old Lin, you see, the Purple Marquis is the first Marquis and Ziyunxiao has reached the nascent soul stage. Moreover, he has been chosen by a hidden sect. The Purple Marquis's lineage is destined for endless wealth. You have gone against the Purple Marquis's intentions and brushed away his face. Won't your future path be narrower and narrower?" Marquis Xianxia directly threatened. These people were all existences that depended on the Purple Marquis. It sounded like persuasion, but in reality, it was threats, coercion and aiding the evildoer. There were many things that the Purple Marquis could not say too straightforwardly, but they were here to help him be the bad guy. Chapter 1884. One had to say, if it wasn't for the fact that Lin Hanqing was naturally a tough nut to crack, any other duke would likely be unable to withstand such a situation. However, Lin Hanqing shook his head resolutely. "All of you don't need to say any more. Everyone knows how to say nice things. If I were to ask you to gouge out your flesh and dig out your hearts, I'm afraid you wouldn't be so generous or have such a high level of awareness." While they were in a deadlock, owner Wang of the Fragrant Medicine House coldly laughed. "Marquis Lin, through our cooperation with the Purple Marquis over the past 2 years, we have discovered that their ability to nurture elixirs far surpasses yours. As for the spirit herbs you cultivated, they couldn't reach our standards. Therefore, after discussion among the upper echelons of the fragrant medicine house, we've finally unanimously decided that we will not accept any spirit medicine from the Xianyuan territory in the future. The previous cooperation between our two houses will also end here. When these words were spoken, Lin Hanqing's expression immediately changed. The reason why he was so stubborn and unwilling to rent this half-spirit vein territory to the Duke of Soaring Dragon was because of his partnership with the Pill King Garden. From this relationship he could reap considerable profits every year. But now, the boss of the fragrant medicine house had personally spoken that they would end their partnership and ban all spirit medicine from the Xianyuan territory. This was taking drastic measures to deal with the problem. Lin Hanqing asked hoarsely, "Landlord, do you really have to be so ruthless?" The landlord of the fragrant medicine house said faintly, "A wise man submits to circumstances. Duke Lin, your mistake is that you've always been ignorant of the situation and unable to see the situation clearly." How was this persuasion? This was obviously knocking on Lin Hanqing's head. Lin Hanqing had actually been holding back the evil fire in his belly for a long time. The landlord's words finally ignited the anger he'd suppressed for a long time. The anger he'd suppressed for a long time exploded in an instant. Lin Hanqing suddenly stood up from his seat and laughed loudly. Good, good. All of you put on an act but are actually scheming as barbaric bandits. Let me tell you, I, Lin Hanqing, am not a bodhisattva made of clay. I can earn less money or even not earn at all, but one must have a backbone. I, Lin Hanqing, will not sell this backbone even if it costs half a tael. The fragrant medicine house, is it? Want to ban my Xianyun duke? Doesn't matter. Even if I use that half-spirit veins land to rear pigs, I won't let you bandits get away with it. Lin Hanqing erupted. His eruption was very sudden and very thorough. It turned out that the feeling of exploding was so good. Lin Hanqing felt that all the resentment in his stomach had been vented out at this moment. Following his outburst, the entire banquet suddenly became incomparably quiet again. In an instant the entire banquet fell into a dead silence. No one had expected that he would not hesitate to fight to the death with the purple-robed marquis. For a moment, several marquises who were on good terms with Xianyuan Ho were worried for Lin Hanqing. It was said that some time ago, the Xianyuan marquis residence had suffered an earth-shattering assassination attempt and suffered heavy casualties. It was already like a candle flickering in the wind, difficult to continue. If they offended the purple marquis, how could they survive? The neutral dukes all lowered their heads, not daring to make eye contact with Lin Hanqing. He was afraid that purple marquis would mistakenly think that he supported Lin Hanqing and bring about a fatal disaster. However, the eldest princess, Dongfang Moyu, surprisingly did not express her opinion. She only sipped her tea lightly as if she was watching a good show from the sidelines. The reaction of Lin Hanqing and the eldest princess, while shocking the purple-robed marquis, was slightly relieved. In his opinion, as long as the eldest princess didn't make a move to stop him, Lin Hanqing would only temporarily lose his reason. With his threats and promises, Lin Hanqing would sooner or later understand the logic of a single tree being unable to hold up the ground. What kind of waves could he cause? However, amidst this silence, a voice suddenly rang out. A cold voice rang out. Well scolded, you scolded to your heart's content. As expected of the Xianyuan marquis, as expected of a loyal descendant. I am curious, you so-called dukes, so-called nobles. Do you really not have a single hard bone in your body? The territory of our eastern kingdom, the people must be defended by you spineless, mediocre people who only know how to curry favor? Do you not have the slightest bit of dignity as a noble, a minister, a pillar of the country? Apart from currying favor, bullying the good and fearing the evil, you really can't do anything else? Your ability is only left with helping the tiger do evil, supporting the strong and stepping on the weak, suppressing your colleagues, robbing your colleagues of their territory and plundering their interests. Everyone looked over and found that it was Jiang Tian, who was sipping his wine while spouting nonsense. For a moment, many marquises were shocked and angry and also a little ashamed. But the Marquis of Xianxia shouted excitedly again, "Bastard! You, a rogue cultivator from outside the river, a mere refugee from the remote countryside, are you qualified to spout nonsense here? Get out! This kid, don't spout nonsense all day long and act without any manners." But Dongfang Moyu's beautiful eyes bloomed with splendor. and she looked at Jiang Tian with gentle ripples. She only felt that Jiang Tian's words were incomparably pleasing to the ear, like listening to heavenly music, too pleasant to listen to. What did Jiang Tian mean by these words? The alliance of dukes. Powerful dukes annexed and devoured the weak dukes. For dukes like the purple-robed Marquis and the Duke of Beijiang to become more and more powerful, it was not a good thing. This was a situation that could threaten the rule of the imperial family, and it was also the point that the Dongfang imperial family hated the most. It seemed that she suddenly felt that this sharp-tongued fellow, this lecher who spoke without restraint, was not so abominable. Therefore, when she was interrupted by the Marquis of Xianxia, Dongfang Moyu was immediately enraged. Her eyebrows rose as she shouted coldly, "Marquis of Xianxia, do you still want to be beaten? Isn't a slap enough? Mr. Jiang is an imperial physician and a member of the imperial family. Why can't he speak? Sit down." He's an imperial physician? This subject didn't know before. "I know my mistake, Grand Princess. Please calm down." The Marquis of Xianxia jumped in fright and hurriedly knelt down. "He wants to be beaten. I'll enforce the law on behalf of the Grand Princess." Lin Yang jumped out and slapped the Marquis of Xianxia's face, causing him to roll a few meters away like a gourd. The Marquis of Xianxia climbed up in a daze, and was so angry that he spat out another mouthful of blood. "It's one thing for the Grand Princess to hit me, but you, a little calf, a junior, dare to hit me. It's a great humiliation. How can this be tolerated?" However, when Lin Yang hit him, he used the princess's name and he could not refute it. The Marquis of Xianxia retreated dejectedly. Jiang Tian smiled coldly again. "And you, the Fragrant Medicine House, right? To put it nicely, you are a high and mighty sect. To put it bluntly, you are just businessmen. Do you have any achievements? Have you made any contributions to the empire? Have you protected the Dongfang imperial family and the people? Where did you get the courage to use that pretentious tone to teach a lesson to a duke who once fought for the country and shed blood on the battlefield? Who gave you the courage? You're so arrogant. Terminate the cooperation? Bah. I'm telling you clearly now, your Fragrant Medicine House will definitely not last long if you act like this. At most you can live for half a year. There are many sects and businesses in the world that want to cooperate with my Lin family. Who do you think you are? Mister's knowledge is really extraordinary." At this moment, Dongfang Moyu looked at Jiang Tian with her beautiful eyes again. Her good impression of Jiang Tian rose rapidly again and she liked him to the extreme. Sects were high and mighty and otherworldly. Sect cultivators considered themselves to be immortal cultivators and were extremely arrogant. They ignored the common people and did not care about the affairs of the world, but they forgot that they were originally born in the secular world. But if a heavenly treasure appeared in the secular world, they would definitely snatch it and even fight with the royal family. But if there were any natural disasters, demon beast tides, demonic chi and so on in the secular world, even if millions of mortals were killed or injured, they would not take a second look. They would even support agents in the secular world for the sake of benefits and participate in the fight for imperial power and territory. Haha, interesting. You dare to scold me. Owner Wang of the Fragrant Medicine House's face was ashen, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Chapter 1885. The Fragrant Medicine House was high and mighty. Even the eldest princess and crown prince Dongfang Ding had to be courteous to them. Now they were being reprimanded by a guest of the Lin family. He had already announced Jiang Tian's death sentence in his heart. After all, killing people in a sect completely disregarded the laws of the secular empire. However, the eldest princess was present and Jiang Tian had the title of imperial physician. He could not directly attack or threaten him. He could only laugh coldly. "Kid, don't be so arrogant. You're just an itinerant cultivator from a humble background. How dare you talk about the development of the Fragrant Medicine House? What a joke. I'll tell you frankly, without the Fragrant Medicine House to buy the spiritual herbs from the spiritual herb garden, you can only rear pigs. Is the Fragrant Medicine House so rich? Is your strength so terrifying? The spiritual herb garden in Tiger Head Ridge occupies a half-spiritual vein. You want to use it to rear pigs? How extravagant and wasteful. It's truly admirable." Right at this moment, a sarcastic voice sounded out. A middle-aged cultivator with a cold, arrogant and overbearing expression walked in lazily with his hands behind his back. He was clearly trying to tear down the Fragrant Medicine House. The purple marquis stood up and slammed the table angrily. He shouted sternly, "Where are the guards? What's the use of keeping you? How dare you let an outsider in? Throw him out." "Marquis, please calm down." The guard commander following behind the middle-aged man hurriedly rushed forward and whispered something into Purple Marquis's ear. When Purple Marquis heard this, his expression changed and he hurriedly went up to greet him. His face was full of joy as he said apologetically, "I didn't expect the third hall master of the ancient medicine hall's Icebound City branch to come in person. Please forgive this old man's poor eyesight, old man's poor eyesight." "What? It's the third hall master of the ancient medicine hall's ice-sealed city hall. The third hall master has been replaced. The ice-sealed city hall is the second main hall of the ancient medicine hall. The third hall master is a big shot. Why is he here? Go greet him. It's good to get familiar with him." Many of the marquises stepped forward and bowed. Even the eldest princess went to greet him, her face filled with joy. The ancient medicine hall was the top sacred ground on the continent. There were many semi-god realm cultivators and saints there. They could flatten a large country with a single order. That was terrifying enough. More importantly, they were proficient in alchemy. There were oceans of divine pills and clouds of divine pills in the palace. These were essential items for the various feudal lords to raise their cultivation and nurture their disciples. Not only in the Eastern Empire but even in the entire Saint Origin world, there was a saying that if you offend the Hall of Ancient Medicine, you'll suffer a fate worse than death. If you climb up the Hall of Ancient Medicine, you'll reach the heavens in a single bound. "Third Palace Master, you're here. Why didn't you tell me?" On the other hand, the fragrant medicine house's housemaster's face was filled with terror as he spoke in a submissive tone. In the eyes of the secular world, the fragrant medicine house could be considered a large and famous sect. However, compared to a colossus like the ancient medicine hall, it paled in comparison. A branch hall of Icebound City was enough to crush them. Third Hall Master Xing had an arrogant look on his face. He couldn't be bothered with Third Hall Master Xing. He chuckled and looked at Lin Hanqing. "Marquis Lin, it's a waste to use a half-spirit vein to rear pigs. The ancient medicine hall is willing to pay 200 million top-grade crystals a year to sign a contract with the Lin family. 5 years, no 10 years. No, you can fill in the number of years you want." What? Everyone, including Purple Marquis, thought they had heard wrong. The third hall master of the ancient medicine hall's branch in Icebound City was willing to pay 10 million to sign a contract with the Lin family? If it were any other occasion, it wouldn't be a big deal to sign a contract and do business. However, the ancient medicine hall's actions were a slap in the face to Purple Marquis and the fragrant medicine house. They were openly supporting the Lin family. This was strange. The ancient medicine hall was the top sacred ground. Who didn't know how terrifying it was? Who didn't know how shrewd and wise the hall masters and elders of the ancient medicine hall were? Under such circumstances, the ancient medicine hall was making a loss by signing a contract with such generous conditions. If the ancient medicine hall couldn't benefit from other aspects, why would they support the Lin family? When did the Lin family of the Xianyuan Marquis get on the good side of the ancient medicine hall? No one thought that the Xianyuan Marquis was so influential or capable that the ancient medicine hall would publicly support them just because of a half-spirit vein herb garden. The fragrant medicine house's housemaster's face turned ugly as he said coldly, "Third hall master, what you're doing is inappropriate. However, you should know that the herb garden isn't worth 200 million top-grade crystals. You're willing to suffer a huge loss just to slap me in the face. Do you think Elder Gu and the head hall master will agree? You don't have to worry about that. So what if we lose money?" Third hall master Xing snorted coldly in his heart. "What do you know? The heaven-mending pill alone brings tens of billions of top-grade crystals to the Hall of Ancient Medicine. Losing this little bit of money is nothing compared to pleasing Mr. Jiang." He said calmly, "That's right. Hall Master Wang slapped me in the face? Why do you say that? I clearly heard you say that you're ending your business with the Lin family. If not, why would the ancient medicine hall interfere? We know the rules of doing business. There's nothing wrong with us picking up a business that you don't want to do, right?" The fragrant medicine house master was tongue-tied and speechless. Purple Marquis also looked embarrassed. The ancient medicine hall had spent 200 million top-grade crystals to rent the herb garden, but he only wanted to spend 10 million. His table manners were a little too unsightly. However, he was very confused. He couldn't understand why the ancient medicine hall would risk losing money to support the Jinyuan Marquis Lin family. This was too strange. However, Lin Hanqing knew that it was all because of Jiang Tian. Looking at Purple Marquis and Landlord Wang's expression as if they had just swallowed a fly, Lin Hanqing's heart felt extremely carefree. He laughed heartily, beaming with joy, and said proudly, "Thank you, Landlord Wang, for terminating the contract with my Lin family. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the opportunity to sit and collect 200 million in rent. I've doubled it in an instant. I still have important matters to attend to. I'll take my leave first." Hall Master Wang was so embarrassed that he couldn't back down. He didn't have the face to stay and left angrily. The Purple Marquis was very angry that the ancient medicine hall had ruined his plan to rob the Marquis. However, he didn't dare to offend the third hall master, so he pretended to be polite and said, "The third hall master's arrival today brings light to our humble Marquis mansion. Please take a seat and enjoy some wine." "Ah, thank you for your hospitality. However, I'm only here to discuss a business with Jinyuan Marquis. Since we've already discussed it, there's no need for me to stay. Please contact me after the banquet and sign a rental contract. Everyone, please don't send me off." Third Hall Master Xing had his hands behind his back. His expression was arrogant and overbearing. He didn't care about people like Purple Marquis at all. He laughed and left the Marquis residence without giving him any face. They're willing to double the rent to rent the herb garden at Tiger Head Ridge. The ancient medicine hall is clearly supporting Jinyuan Marquis. With the support of the ancient medicine hall, won't Jinyuan Marquis be able to make a comeback? From a chicken to a phoenix. Of course, with the ancient medicine hall, he'll have an endless supply of pills. With pills, the strength of the Jinyuan Marquis residence will soar. The situation has changed. It seems that the Lin family is going to rise among the southern feudal lords and surpass Purple Marquis. We have to curry favor with Marquis Lin and hug his thigh. Through him, we might be able to get some precious pills from the ancient medicine hall. That's right. Jinyuan Marquis is much better than Purple Marquis. It's not a loss to be friends with him. Purple Marquis is greedy by nature and easily takes things by force. Today he took Jinyuan Marquis. Who knows if he'll steal from us tomorrow? Many feudal lords who were close to Jinyuan Marquis whispered and beamed with joy. They seemed to think highly of Jinyuan Marquis. Some feudal lords who were originally neutral seemed to be moved. They raised their cups and toasted Lin Hanqing from afar to express their congratulations and flattery. Being keenly aware of these subtle changes, Purple Marquis's face suddenly turned ugly. Chapter 1886. Originally, the Purple Marquis had invited all the dukes and banquets to spread the news of his son's breakthrough, intimidate the other dukes, and gather the people's hearts to prepare for the day when he would rebel. It was also to put pressure on Lin Hanqing to openly snatch this medicine field and accumulate resources. But now, this had become a show for the Jinyuan Ho residents. They had tried to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. "Marquis, we can't sit by and watch the Jinyuan Ho grow. Why don't we carry out the second plan?" "Yes, uncle, if the Jinyuan Ho obtains the support of the other dukes, the situation is already set. One day won't the Xianxia forest and even the entire Red Rock Basin be snatched away?" At this moment, the Marquis of Xianshui's expression was grave as he communicated with the Purple Marquis. Li Ludao and Zi Yunxiao rubbed their palms together, eager to give it a try. Good victory or defeat depends on this. The Purple Marquis pondered for a moment, then suddenly gritted his teeth. He had always been a resolute and decisive person, with the air of an ambitious and ruthless person, doing what he said. At this time, the Jinyuan Ho was already showing signs of rising. If they did not take advantage of his weakness to strangle him in the cradle as soon as possible, would they have to keep him and let him develop? The banquet continued for a while, gradually reaching the most important matter of the hidden dragon trials. Everyone surrounded Dongfang Moyu and asked him all sorts of questions, deeply worried. Suddenly, the Purple Marquis took over the topic, stood up and toasted Dongfang Moyu. "My colleagues, speaking of the hidden dragon trials, I would like to express the highest respect to our empire's war goddess. The Eastern Empire was founded on martial arts and cultivation prospered. From the nobles to the peddlers, they all yearned for cultivation and worked hard to improve themselves. Among them, the eldest princess is the most outstanding. Whether it is talent, perseverance, realm, or battle strength, she is not inferior to men. She is our role model and I admire her to the extreme. He still knew how to say a few words, but it carried a sense of flattery and vulgarity. Everyone chimed in agreement. I'll drink first as a sign of respect. Eldest princess, please drink this cup. The purple marquis drank it in one gulp. Ah, the purple marquis is too polite. Dongfang Moyu was quite forthright and also drank the wine. Marquis Purple Robe's expression was solemn. He swept his gaze over the children of the feudal lords and said coldly, the empire was founded on martial prowess and evaluated the nobles, dukes and ministers based on military achievements. The purpose was to encourage us to work hard and cultivate diligently. But there were some disciples of the dukes that laid on the books of merit of their ancestors, and they didn't think about improving themselves. They had nothing to do all day long and they were extremely lazy. They only knew how to drink and make merry, and they were absent-minded towards cultivation. This marquis deeply abhorred this. Everyone's eyes fell on Lin Yong. Lin Yong felt uncomfortable, so he angrily said, "Why are you looking at me? Is there something on my face?" Originally, the rules of the Hidden Dragon trials were that the descendants of the vassals who lost would have their fiefs reduced, their nobility lowered, or even be stripped of their titles. However, some of the descendants of the vassals still did not have the heart to strive forward. They actually shamelessly claimed that without their titles and fiefs, they would be able to be an idle official and receive a salary from the royal family. How shameless! Following the purple marquis's furious roar, the entire banquet was so silent that one could hear a pin drop. Everyone looked at Lin Yong with ridicule and speechlessness. Lin Hanqing's face turned red and he covered his face with his hands. My son, it's fine that your cultivation was low before, but why did you say such strange things? You'll become the laughingstock of the world. Lin Yong was also very speechless. He lowered his head and drank tea, hiding his embarrassment. Damn it, I was just casually comforting myself after drinking. How did it reach your ears? You even publicly announced it in this kind of situation, making me unable to step down. It seems that the punishment system is still not enough. Therefore, I did not hesitate to bear the infamy and wrote a petition, requesting that the Hidden Dragon trials be changed to actual combat. The purple marquis's face was filled with pain and hatred and he coldly said, "Many people scolded me for being cruel and merciless and for taking too many risks. This may cause the descendants of the vassals to be injured or even killed. But is this the case? This is only to encourage those salted fish who do not want to improve themselves. A treasured sword's edge must be sharpened. Only by sweating and bleeding during normal times can you preserve your life in battle. My son also wants to participate in the actual combat of the Hidden Dragon trials. He may also be injured and die. Today I will say it here. If he is beaten to death in the Hidden Dragon trials, then it is because his skills are not as good as others. He deserves it." At the end of his speech, the purple marquis was impassioned. Spittle flew everywhere, the rims of his eyes were slightly red and he patted his chest loudly. His acting skills were not bad. There is always pain in reform. The Marquis of Xianxia also tearfully sighed, shamelessly flattering. The Marquis is a man of great talent and bold vision, selfless and completely impartial. However, he was resented and reviled by the vassals of the world, saying that his actions were for the sake of partisanship and for the sake of annexing other vassals. This is simply a bunch of nonsense, slandering others. The Marquis is completely for the prosperity of the empire. His loyalty and devotion can be witnessed by the heavens. The good thing is that His Majesty knows this subject's painstaking efforts, and the eldest princess understands this subject's loyalty. This subject's petition for the Hidden Dragon trials to be implemented in actual combat has finally been approved. This subject here, on behalf of the common people, I thank the eldest princess. The purple marquis bowed deeply, tears flowing down his old face. His acting skills were at their peak. The purple marquis is wholeheartedly for the sake of the empire's development. The imperial family understands this. Dongfang Moyu could only be so polite. However, she did not forget to glance at the many juniors, revealing a kind smile and reminded, in the future, although the Hidden Dragon trials will be implemented in actual combat, it is still important to stop at a certain point. Do not pursue your opponent relentlessly for the sake of false reputation, for the sake of a title. After all, you are all the future pillars of the empire. If any one of you is injured or killed, it will be a great loss to the empire. This princess will also be very sad. We will remember. Xianxia and Li Ludao nodded repeatedly. However, they coldly snorted in their hearts. The battlefield was constantly changing. How could it be so easy to judge whether to stop at a certain point or to pursue relentlessly? Lin Yang, as long as we can go against you, only death awaits you. Your Highness the eldest princess, do not worry. The children understand these principles. The vassals of the world are one family. Friendship first, competition second. At this time the purple marquis smiled. However, there is only a month until the hidden dragon trials. Today there are many distinguished guests present, and the eldest princess has even personally come. In order to improve the combat skills of these juniors, in order to stimulate their fighting spirit, and in order to liven things up for the eldest princess, this marquis would like to propose that the descendants of the vassals present today have a warm-up competition, a simulation of the trials. I wonder what Your Highness the eldest princess thinks. He had done a lot of foreshadowing, and finally the dagger was revealed. For a moment, many of the descendants of the vassals had different expressions. The scene was noisy and there was a lot of discussion. The marquis' suggestion is very good. What is learned on paper is shallow, and what is learned must be done personally. Only in actual combat can you improve yourself. Yes. Cultivation is not treating people to a meal, not writing an essay, not painting or embroidery. Cannot be so elegant, so calm, so gentle and so modest. Cultivation is a life and death struggle to suppress the opponent. It is a battle between the strong, a competition of strength and willpower. To be able to win a smile from the eldest princess, it is not a waste of what I have learned in my life. For example, Li Ludao, Xianxia and the others who had higher cultivation levels were all filled with fighting spirit, eager to give it a try. Some of the descendants of the aristocratic families who had previous grievances glared at each other, their expressions unfriendly, their killing intent surging. As for the descendants with lower cultivation levels, they immediately shrunk like quails. They either lowered their heads, took the opportunity to escape, or shivered. Their faces were filled with uneasiness, and they looked at their elders for help. As for the vassals who had a good relationship with Lin Hanqing, their hearts tightened. This time the purple marquis had been talking for half a day and was waiting here. He wanted to fiercely trample on Jinyuan Marquis and that teacher Jiang. Chapter 1887. Is the purple marquis so impatient? How is Lin Yang's preparation? Can Mr. Jiang teach him carefully? Hearing this, Dongfang Moyu's face slightly froze and he glanced at Jiang Tian and Lin Yang. Jiang Tian's face was calm and Lin Yang did not run away. Dongfang Moyu could not determine Lin Yang's current situation. Thinking of this, Dongfang Moyu smiled and said, "The children's cultivation is uneven. In order to avoid a battle with too great a disparity in strength, unnecessary casualties, I suggest that the simulated battle must be agreed to by the person being challenged. If the challenger refuses the challenge, then we cannot force it. After all, this is still not the real hidden dragon trials. Of course. Princess Royal is kind and cares about her subordinates. I don't want to see anyone hurt." The purple marquis gloated at Jiang Tian and Lin Yang. Refuse the challenge? Sure, the Jinyuan Marquis Lin family's face will be lost, and their prestige will be lost. The southern marquis will still treat me as the core. Dongfang Moyu nodded and glanced at the children of the marquis. She smiled and said, "Since everyone agrees to this rule, there shouldn't be any accidents. Today all the descendants of the marquis are gathered here. As the person in charge of the hidden dragon trials, I will take this opportunity to observe your progress in cultivating the eastern purple qi, and give you a few pointers. You don't have to hold back. Show your talent, comprehension, talent and ability." Her voice was cold like jade striking each other. "Then let the challenge begin. I wonder which handsome young man will stand up and start the challenge first and give me a surprise. I am willing to eat this mouthful of soup. Princess Royal, please give me pointers on my cultivation. I will be eternally grateful." Li Ludao stood up and walked out of the crowd, flying to the martial arts field next to the banquet hall. He looked around proudly. This martial arts field occupied half of the manor of the purple marquis and was very wide. Good Li Ludao. I know you, the son of the Marquis of Xianxia. I heard that you have returned to the peak golden core stage. Then find an opponent of similar level to fight a peak battle, and let me broaden my horizons. I think Xianxia is not bad. Dongfeng Moyu smiled. She still doesn't want Lin Yang to accept the challenge now. Although she felt that Jiang Tian was an amazing person, Lin Yang's foundation was too poor. In just a few months, if he was promoted from the first level of Jindan stage to the peak, it would be like a fantasy. Eldest princess must be joking. Brother Z is the #1 genius among the descendants of the southern vassals of the empire. How could this subject be his match? Li Ludao politely refused, then looked at Lin Yang and pretended to hold his fist. I would like to challenge the son of Jinyun Ho, Lin Yang. Just now Lin Yang said that I was asking for a beating and wanted to teach me a lesson. Lin Yang has made rapid progress in this period of time. He already has the qualification to compete with me. Brother Lin Yang, please advise me. As cultivators, we forget our enmity with a smile when we meet. All friendships are based on learning from each other. Am I right, everyone? Lin Yang looked embarrassed, but he didn't get up immediately. Although he was already a peak stage golden core cultivator, Li Ludao had been a golden core cultivator for many years and had more combat experience. The other marquises also got the hint from Marquis Zhou Xian's eyes. Yes, let's have a good fight. We old guys will be outdated in the end. Sooner or later we will give way to the younger generation. It's rare to have such a good opportunity tonight. Between the descendants of the vassals, we can learn from each other and increase our friendship. This will strengthen the martial spirit of the Eastern Empire. Good. Lin Yang, you should accept. Young people are the future of the country. If they are strong, the empire will be strong. Seeing that Lin Yang didn't accept the challenge, Ziyunxiao smiled and said, Lin Yang, you won't refuse, right? Li Ludao has been fascinated by you for a long time. I heard that your esteemed guest, Mr. Jiang, has recently begun to guide your cultivation. Mr. Jiang is an eccentric cultivator from outside the river. I think he must have some outstanding points. Ah? Mr. Jiang is guiding his cultivation? Marquis Xianxia slapped his thigh and said, Then Lin Yang, I'm afraid you will ascend to the heavens. Cultivators from outside the river are so amazing. His words were full of ridicule. No wonder Lin Yang is so arrogant. So you invited a famous teacher from outside the river. A famous teacher produces a brilliant disciple. Lin Yang has someone to rely on. Hearing this, everyone burst into laughter and looked at Jiang Tian and the Lin father and son with ridicule. How could the Lin family be so eccentric? They actually invited a trashy cultivator from outside the river to guide Lin Yang's cultivation. This was simply destroying their own future. If he was ridiculed like this in the past, Lin Yang would pinch his nose and endure it. After all, he had been a good-for-nothing for many years. It wasn't the first time he had been ridiculed, and his skin had gradually become very thick. However, seeing the flames of ridicule gradually burning on Jiang Tian, he couldn't hold it in anymore. Let's fight. Who's afraid of you? Lin Yang slammed the table and stood up, his battle intent surging. He and Jiang Tian had a special relationship. Jiang Tian had solved the Lin family's crisis several times and brought him to the ancient medicine hall to show off, enlightening his cultivation and stimulating his potential. In his heart, Jiang Tian was as close as a brother, but also as respected as a famous teacher. Could be said that he was both a teacher and a friend. At this moment, seeing that Jiang Tian was also being ridiculed, if he still acted like a coward, would he still be a human? Lin Yang, you're good. You were originally the weakling who formed the core the longest in history. During this period of time, you were misled by a rogue cultivator from outside the river. I'm afraid your strength is not as good as it used to be. You actually accepted my challenge. I'm a little impressed. Li Ludao laughed strangely, his tongue was incomparably poisonous. He humiliated Jiang Tian and Lin Yang together. What nonsense are you talking about? Just do it. Lin Yang flew into the martial arts arena and shouted angrily. Sir, are you really going to let Lin Yang compete with him? Lin Hanqing looked at Jiang Tian pitifully with a nervous expression. He only had one precious son. If he died, how could he explain to his wife and ancestors? Don't worry, Lord Ho. Li Ludao is just a weakling. Lin Yang can defeat him in 3 moves. Jiang Tian smiled leisurely and sipped his wine. He was calm and composed. Mr. Jiang is really arrogant. Marquis Xianxia was exasperated. He gritted his teeth and grinned. Son, teach Lin Yang a lesson. Destroy his Dantian and show this rogue cultivator what the supreme art of the Eastern Empire is. Jiang, you're just an arrogant person from a remote village. How dare you talk about the art of the royal family? You pretended to teach others and misled them. If Lin Yong loses, you'll bow and apologize to me? Do you dare to accept? He pointed his gun at Jiang Tian to humiliate Jiang Tian. After all, he had been humiliated too much in front of Jiang Tian. How could he not want revenge? Why wouldn't I? Your useless son will lose. Jiang Tian was full of confidence in Lin Yong. Since when did a rogue cultivator from outside the river become so confident? He's just a rogue cultivator from outside the river. What can he teach? Arrogant. How arrogant. Fight. Hurry up. Let's see how powerful Lin Yong is now. Let's see how effective this rogue cultivator's teaching is. Everyone was also in an uproar. They couldn't believe it. Many of Marquis Xianxui's subordinates started to shout.